Call the meeting to order, the Plan Commission, February 17th, 2026. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where did Mike go? Not here yet. Going to call attendance. I'll just do that. Nick Plopper.
Present.
Andrew Cossack. Or, sorry. Oh, my gosh.
It's all right.
I am Josh Fedor, sorry.
Present.
Yeah. Craig Melton.
Present.
What's your name again?
Kendrick Davis.
Oh, Kendrick Davis.
Present.
All right. Nikki Finelli
Present.
and Jim Hurst is absent. Brad Johnson, I'm here. We have a quorum. All right, we have a Planning and Building Department monthly report. Roger, is that Mike? Do we want to circle back to it?
No, that's just for your information only. There's no
Okay.
action required on that.
Okay, we have the minutes from January 20th, 2026 meeting. Does anyone have any amendments to that set of minutes? Do we have a motion to accept?
Move to approve.
It's been moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Craig and Josh have made a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, let's move on. Continuances and withdrawal requests. We have 2025-75-Z Pulte Homes rezoning of the Smith Monsouri single-family development. It's been asked to be continued to the March 16th, 2026 meeting. Roger, do you have any further information on that?
No additional information other than this is, the petitioner is aware of the timeline involved on this. We've kept them informed of that, so they know that one of the upcoming meetings, they are going to need to be heard. So their number of continuances is moving toward expiration.
Thank you. Docket number 2025-88-DP, the Pittman Investors LLC, the Farm Grocery Store, has asked to be continued to the March 16th, 2026 meeting. Again, Roger, do you want to speak in regards to that?
No additional information other than we did receive the continuance request that is linked in the agenda, just that they're asking for continuance to the March 16th meeting.
I was going to just have a vote to continue all of these in one fell swoop at the end, if that's okay with everyone. And then we have 2025-90-DP, which is the Astral Heights LLC. The Learning Experience has asked to be continued to the March 16th, 2026 meeting as well. Again, Roger.
We do have people here that would like to speak briefly.
Okay, great.
Members of the Plan Commission, Kyle Russaterritz with Denton's, 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis. The petition before you is requesting a continuance for a variety of reasons, including making some additional architectural changes, waiting for some comments on engineering and road improvements, particularly from INDOT, and is also in receipt of a letter from a neighboring landowner for which we will seek an opportunity to meet with that landowner. The reason why I'm before you today is just to offer that Brian Foxworthy and Del DeMeo with the petitioner are in the room. So if there's anyone in the public who was here for the public hearing, did not notice that it was going to be continued, we just wanted to give them an opportunity to connect with Brian and Del in the hallway when the matter is continued. So that's the only reason why I'm here tonight for that.
Any questions for Kyle? All right, thank you. If I can get a motion to continue these three items.
I make a motion to continue the three items to the March 16th, 2026 meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Second was Greg. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to continued business to be heard. We have 2025-83-Z, the Pittman Partners Woodland Grove PUD rezoning. Staff, do you want to give a presentation on that?
I'm happy to, or like last month, I can say, you have my staff report. And you
That is fine, too. Just
No, I'm
offering the
happy to do a
continuance of
brief introduction or turn it over to the petitioner, but just here, up on the screen is the, it was, sorry.
I'll unplug, sorry, Judy. Go ahead.
Nope. But yeah, okay. So up on the screen, you can see the subject property for the rezoning area. What you can also, this is a request for a positive recommendation to rezone approximately 52 acres from rural ag to PUD to develop a mixed-use commercial and residential development. The location you saw. Want to talk a little bit about the comp plan. The future land use map for the current comp plan shows this area here. It straddles a couple of different land use proposals. Mixed-use campus-style housing and then agritourism is what the airport land use plan shows for this PUD area. And then there's a residential tier 1 through 4 map that goes along with the airport study map. And the subject site lies within tier 2, which strongly discourages residential, and tier 3, which allows multifamily and existing residential. And then I know this current, the updated comprehensive plan has not yet been adopted by the town council, but you can see, this is the old slide, I'm so sorry. But this is the site located on the comprehensive plan up under consideration currently, which shows conventional subdivision and mixed residential uses, which would also include townhomes and limited commercial. So the proposal is to rezone the parcels and develop commercial area about 50,000 square feet along Michigan Road, and then 120 townhomes, which is a reduction from the initial proposal, and then single-family residential in this area here. That connects with the existing Union Woodlands residential subdivision. And then the updated conceptual site plan showing how conceptually that would all be laid out. Again, commercial stuff along Michigan Road, townhomes with some single-family mixed in, and then other single-family residential here, woodland preserve area, and then some amenity areas shown. I'm happy to answer any questions or turn it right over to the petitioner for his presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay. I'd like to turn it over to the petitioner.
Be viewed okay by the Plan Commission?
Yeah, if we can get name and
Wonderful.
address as well.
Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. Kyle Russaterritz with Dentons, for the record, 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis. Thank you to the Plan Commission for an opportunity to be heard this evening. Thank you to Jody for the introductory comments. Stood before you about a month ago, and after a long evening that night at your meeting, you gave me an opportunity on behalf of my client, Steve Pittman, Pittman Partners, to introduce this rezone petition for approximately 51 acres on US 421, known as Woodland Grove. During that presentation, we received pointed, thoughtful, and purposeful comments. I counted approximately 17 specific comments that this Plan Commission offered collectively. I can say with confidence that we have implemented a response to each one of those comments, or will offer a response to each one of those comments this evening. As part of that presentation, you viewed this previous concept plan for this development. Tonight, we are pleased to present to you this updated concept plan, which I will walk you through this evening as we travel into the community from Michigan Road west to east. We enter into the Michigan Road subdistrict, which will be an exclusively commercial subdistrict with no greater than 50,000 square feet of commercial office use. As we continue east, we enter into the Discovery Commons subdistrict. Discovery Commons subdistrict is characterized by single-family attached and single-family detached housing, townhomes in particular being that single-family attached product. Newly introducing tonight a single-family detached on the eastern boundary of the Discovery Commons site, indicated by my cursor here. Also, as part of the Discovery Commons subdistrict, includes a new amenity common area green space, which will include a dog park and pavilion area, and then of course highlighted also by the retention pond, which provides a natural buffering to the south. As we continue east, we enter into the more traditional or conventional subdivision district known as Overland Commons, and that features your single-family detached area. At the northeast corner of the site being the Wildlife and Tree Preservation Subdistrict. This commercial subdistrict is about 8 acres. Both of the commons areas are about 18 to 19 acres, and then the wooded tree preservation is about 5 acres, so accounting for approximately 51 acres there. A memo was included in your file this evening from my office, highlighting the improvements we have made and revisions we have made to the PUD itself, as well as the concept plan that I just offered. I've touched on a few of these, but I will highlight others. Importantly, we have decreased the overall density of the site, removing 30 townhomes. Previously, the maximum was 150 townhomes. That now sits at 120 townhomes, and then adding, as I mentioned, those 13 single-family lots within the Discovery Commons subdistrict. Importantly, both feedback from this Plan Commission as well as neighbors, many of whom are in the room tonight, establishing additional architectural standards, particularly with the use of masonry material. Highlighted here, some of those standards being no more than 50% of the townhomes within that subdistrict being more than 2 stories. All townhomes will be no more than 3 stories. At least 50% of each of the front and side elevations, facades of the townhome buildings must be using masonry material. And then if a single family dwelling uses any masonry material in their front facade, there must be a masonry wainscoting on each side of the building. Important to a development like this, particularly the townhome use, is affording opportunities for parking of visitors to the townhome. So we've designated an off-street parking within that Discovery Commons area. I mentioned number 4, this gathering space, and I'm going to flip back to the concept plan to hit on number 5, 6, and 7 here. You'll see as you look at the site plan, we've added some undulation of the streets, particularly the alleyways between the townhomes. We've separated the townhomes. Removing 6 townhome buildings has afforded opportunities to have space between each of the buildings. Those will be trails and walking paths, sidewalks connecting the front and rear of the townhomes. Importantly, for the dynamics of the building as well as to slow any traffic down throughout this would be this additional boulevard throughout the site. And there were some comments on how to really bifurcate and separate the commercial district to the residential district. So there'll be an elevated pedestrian walk here connecting the south and north corridors of this commons area here. We also made revisions to the commercial subdistrict, notably, again, architecture in the same vein as the revisions to the residential district, offering at least 50% of each building facade. That meaning each side of each commercial building must be reconstructed of masonry material. The important piece of that being each side, because the commercial subdistrict will be served from the rear. I'll move back here because you will enter off of Michigan Road, past the buildings, and then turn either south or north and enter in the rear. It's important that that masonry material wrap the entire building from an architectural perspective. So remove certain permitted uses such as general retail, that one being sort of a rather significant description within the town's base zoning designation. There's many different uses there. The feedback we received from neighbors and other interested parties that would be too great of a use for this corridor and this property in general. Some other permitted uses removed from the list, including restaurants, cafes, and some indoor and outdoor recreational facilities. Increase some minimum planting requirements along US 421. Again, it already has recognition of a 10-foot walking trail, which has certainly been a goal of the town of Zionsville to include a walking trail along 421. So this will be additional plantings, buffering that both visually as well as being a nice added amenity for those walking or cycling along the trail there. And then the ordinance does contemplate the use of photocell technology to dim the lighting in the commercial corridor. Certain interested parties, most notably being Save Rural Zionsville, had certain comments as with respect to lighting, or the phrase often used as light pollution here. There are already provisions within the ordinance that speak to in evening hours, the photocell technology will dim the lights to less than 100%. There were comments received from Save Rural Zionsville in particular that there may still be animals traversing this area in the evening time, to make sure that that isn't sort of either a flickering on-off. The photocell technology will allow 15 minutes for lights to turn on and then dim back, but we're exploring with our lighting engineer some other technologies that might be useful to make sure that that lighting only turns back on to full brightness for vehicles or pedestrians as opposed to animals. And certainly there's an importance of lighting for safety reasons, to the extent that any users of those sites are visiting the commercial buildings during off hours. The few final comments of our changes: added a few benches around the dog bone trail. Certainly those with families and young children who are using that corridor. Hopefully mom and dad can sit on a bench and see their kids travel there from afar, if you will. And then a general comment added a provision which encourages the use of non-invasive native species. Really, that's a great improvement to the ordinance. Unintended to not have included that, but a good improvement nonetheless. So as we consider the site from a contextual plan, Ms. Dickey offered comments particularly with respect to the existing comprehensive plan, as well as that which this Plan Commission has sent to the council in draft form. We consider contextually where this site sits in relation to its existing neighbors, particularly the conventional subdivision to the south, conventional subdivision to the east. We see recently approved PUD for Maple Lane just north along 200, and of course many of the residents in the room tonight are those that's own property and live along the western edge of 421 here. And we do feel strongly that we have followed the guidance of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is just that. It is a guide of development, both by the Plan Commission as well as the Town Council. There is a challenge for any developer, Pittman Properties or anyone, to understand how we use the guide in connection with comments from the public, from how we interpret that guide, from comments from the Plan Commission and the Council. And in an attempt to recognize that we really see that at least the existing comp plan as well as the new comp plan, even though there are different designations, this site is really split in two. Apologies there. Split in two. So we offer this map for a few moments here. The red line approximately representing that demarcation for the existing comprehensive plan, the west side of the line being the mixed-use campus housing, the east side of the line being agritourism or agricultural. For the draft new comprehensive plan, the west side of the line being mixed residential district and the east side being conventional subdivision. So we consider both what each of those subdistricts mean, as well as what the comprehensive plan offers with respect to density. There's no attempt to skirt that discussion. Many of the interested parties who have written letters to this Plan Commission, which I know all of you have seen and acknowledged and read, we want to stand before you today to understand or for you to understand that we are taking that into consideration as well. This Plan Commission last month asked us to offer some numerical values to really kind of look at how this site plan compares. As I said, we believe we meet that guidance. From the west side of the line, we see a unit per acre density count for Woodland Grove being approximately 4.8 units per acre. East of the line, that more conventional single-family detached subdivision feel being 1.5 units per acre. Of course, in the bottom left corner of the slide, we offer some comparative neighborhoods, those being those more conventional subdivisions, more akin to this Overland Common subdistrict, having unit per acre of 1.83, 1.6, and 0.75 acres, units per acre respectively for Union Woodlands, Brookhaven, and Countrywood. You can see that unit per acre number for the conventional subdivision really falls in line with these numbers here. When we look at Discovery Commons, that being the townhome section, everything west of the line, we really can ultimately see a few different numbers to look at, depending on whether or not you're just looking at the townhome section or you're looking at the greater area, including the commercial. As I noticed, we've decreased that density. That 4.8 units per acre is in line and even less dense than other townhome developments within Zionsville. With the provided open space of the tree preservation area, that really facilitates on the east side of the line our ability to show that 1.5 acres units per acre. I want to give some comparative numbers that we gathered just today, so forgive me for not including it in the slide, but comparing the townhouse figure there that 4.82 in comparison to some other townhomes in Zionsville. So the towns at Appaloosa Crossing, 6.4 units per acre. Manchester Square townhomes, 6.4 units per acre. Fox Lane townhomes at Holiday Farms, 6.7 units per acre. Hunter's Glen townhomes, 10.3 units per acre. As I mentioned, the overall density here, the number that you see on your screen, 4.8, that does include the commercial. If we remove the commercial, the density of just the Discovery Commons area, we are at 6.6 units per acre. So falling right in line with what the market has dictated for a developer to bring a townhome product to Boone County, to Zionsville here. We offer that for comparison to understand what a density of a townhome development looks like, because there has been such a call for a diversity of housing in the town of Zionsville. I don't view it as others would be made tonight or would it be implied in some of the interested party letters as a replacement or incongruent with the overall development. But in fact, it's something that the town can be proud of, that it has grown in a way that this sort of development is welcome and needed in the town of Zionsville, because there are individuals, whether that be empty nesters or new homeowners, looking for this type of product here. Oops, excuse me. When we look at the overall site density, that was a number that was also raised in the some interested party letters. It was brought up and asked for us to bring some of these letters. The first two rows touch on the updated concept plan, which I've shared this evening. The middle row being that previous concept plan, and then there was a consideration of how this might compare to the reserve at Union Woodlands, the PUD that was before you last year. Members of this Plan Commission are well familiar with that. We have decreased the overall density with respect to both of those comparisons to 3.36 units per acre. I encourage the Plan Commission to consider this number in comparison to these two numbers that I've also shared, but also in the best use of this real estate. You'll hear this evening other numbers, units per acre, thrown out in comparison to other single-family residential communities approved along 421, particularly those ones north of us around 200. I know this Plan Commission and the council alike were considering the density concepts in light of the real estate being considered that evening. To say it a different way, the Bradley Ridge subdivision was considered in light of the natural elements to preserve the walking trail, to connect the preservation area to the north. The Maple Lane Club of Bradley Ridge to the east side of the street had a more dense subdivision layout than Bradley Ridge, because that real estate offered more land and more natural land, flat land, and more flat land, in fact, to facilitate a greater density. So when we look at the density numbers, we also have to look at what is the real estate before you offering from a development perspective. So we look at that from, we view the density also through that lens. I'll pop back here. I mentioned last Plan Commission meeting, but I'll reiterate tonight. Certainly the goal of this petition, again, the use of this real estate, is to consider that the Union Woodlands subdivision sitting just to the east of us needs a connection point, needs an ability to infill everything on that west side of the red line and connect it to Union Woodlands. So that was the goal of this eastern half of the site and the conventional subdivision before you. I will move quickly through many of these conceptual imageries, only because the slides after the slide before you right now have been viewed by the Plan Commission last month, or is also included in the petition materials. But there was a discussion about the conceptual imagery around Michigan Road. These two conceptual images more closely align with the expectations of this PUD, both in the use of masonry, the pitched roofs, the more consistent architecture in comparison to the architecture before you last month, which was more of a varietal, perhaps not really matching some of the calls for architecture to include masonry materials. Happy to return to these slides during any rebuttal period or Q&A with the Plan Commission, but just offer these, again, the Discovery Commons, different elevations I've already talked about to the Plan Commission, including the single-family homes here. This is actually a new representation of some of those rear-loaded single-family lots that would sit in next to the townhomes. Really a high-quality product that we've seen in the marketplace here. These are the conceptual imagery. This is the conceptual imagery exhibit that you've seen for the Overland Commons, the detached single-family garage front-loaded architecture here. And of course, always nice to see some trees and sunlight in this sort of environment. We have improved upon the pedestrian circulation plan, most notably here on the north side, being that common area that I mentioned, the pavilion, dog park area, as well as that more significant boulevard that will travel. And then we've added different walking pathways, sidewalks through the less dense townhome development here in this updated concept plan. I want to just spend a moment and certainly recognize the discussion we've had with these neighbors that I've mentioned already tonight. Many of whom have written letters to you. Recently, you have also seen a notable number of support letters for this petition. I want to reflect this illustration of all of the support letters on record with you this evening own or have a stake in the real estate highlighted in yellow here. So when we talk about the US 421, the corridor, particularly on the east side of the street, and connectivity of existing subdivisions to Michigan Road, as well as the future development of the southeast corner of 200 and 421, I call your attention to this. Adjacent property owners being in support of the proposed project. Steve Pittman has certainly done his best to create opportunities for continued dialogue with the community. You asked us in particular to meet with Save Rural Zionsville. Steve has met with Save Rural Zionsville 3 times. In fact, one of those times being out of state, in which he traveled to meet they were both in the same state. He traveled upwards of two plus hours to meet with one of the founders of Save Rural Zionsville and had a wonderful conversation. I think it was a meal, in fact, to discuss how to improve this. Steve explain some of the improvements we have already described this evening. Recognize Save Rural Zionsville has submitted a letter with continued comments that I've tried to address this evening, but just want to recognize that was an open action item from the Plan Commission that we have accomplished here. From a more legal perspective, if you will, I won't spend much time on these findings of fact, if you will, but certainly the Plan Commission and ultimately the Town Council is tasked with satisfying a reasonable consideration of 5 findings: comprehensive plan, current conditions, most desirable use of the land, conservation of property values in the jurisdiction, responsible development and growth. As I've said, and we've submitted in all of our petition materials, we feel as though we meet those each of those items, we would respectfully request a favorable recommendation of the rezone. Happy to answer any questions you may have. I would reserve any final comments just in a rebuttal opportunity after the public hearing. Thank you for your time this evening.
You. All right. Does any of the Planning Commission members have questions for Kyle or for the petitioner? Okay, we'll circle back to that. All right, we opened a public hearing at our last meeting, and we are continuing that public hearing tonight. So I'd invite anyone from the audience that is here to speak in favor or against the proposed development to come to the microphone and state your name and address and let us know what you want to share.
Hi, Angela Jurasic. I'm at 2510 South US 421. And I didn't have more time, but I did start Wednesday after work going around to all my neighbors. And I'd like to present you with this petition.
Thank you.
Given more time, I think we could have gotten a lot more signatures. It wasn't hard. I just knocked on doors. It was just time consuming. But I think everyone I talked to had a feeling that the precedent has been set. Everyone in Countrywood has at least an acre. Everyone in Fox Run has at least an acre. Along 421, everyone has at least an acre. As a matter of fact, I probably have the smallest lot on 421, and it's over an acre. I know that we're not going to get acre-sized lots. I understand that. But this is ridiculous. This is irresponsible. And it doesn't fit the neighborhood to have all those condos or townhomes, businesses. You're building or approved a business park up by the airport. Why would we have business between 146th Street and the airport? I don't think that's a good use of space. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Robbins, and I've lived at 1122 Indian Pipe in Countrywood for about 35 years. I had one question. Is there a way to find out how big the buffer area would be between the retention ponds and Countrywood? There's a green drawing there. I don't know what that, is there a way of finding that out? Am I free to ask the gentleman?
No, you need to address us only.
Okay. Well, that's one of my concerns, is how big the buffer area would be. Oftentimes, these are very flimsy. Trees don't have much foliage, and commitment to make it a good buffer area doesn't always live out. And my second concern is when I look at 146th and 116th in Michigan, I'm not sure what commitments were made to the town of Zionsville about how that was going to look aesthetically. From my point of view, Silo doesn't look very aesthetic. It's not a very pleasant entrance to Zionsville, so I have grave concerns about Pittman Partners' commitment to make this aesthetically something Zionsville would be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So we do have a rule for our meetings, and we'll be lenient on this particularly tonight, but there's always a sign-up sheet if you want to come to a meeting and speak for or against a development. If you want to come to the podium, there's a sign-in sheet for that. And technically, we're only supposed to have those persons that have signed in to speak come to the podium. Like I said, we'll be a bit lenient on that because it's not something that most people are familiar with, and maybe you didn't see it over there. So if you do come up to speak and you haven't signed in yet, we do want you to sign in so we get your name and address correctly for the minutes. With that, I'll move on to the next person.
And I've placed the sign-up sheet on the podium so that
Great,
if
thank
they
you,
haven't
Mike.
signed it, please do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mitch Baker, and I'm signed in. 1107 Indian Pipe, also from Countrywood, and behalf of the residents of Countrywood, we'd like to ask to deny the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. All right, next.
Laurel Tobin, 7935 East 100 South, speaking on behalf of the Save Rural Zionsville leadership team. We've submitted a letter of interest, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time reiterating the details we discussed in that, but we wanted to highlight a few of those points before you this evening. At last month's meeting, Mr. Davis asked SRZ to meet with Mr. Pittman before this meeting. Neighbors also requested to meet with SRZ. Over the past month, we have had a number of meetings and conversations with both Mr. Pittman and with affected neighbors. After those meetings and after our review of the latest PUD, we still have concerns primarily related to density and precedent, as well as a couple specific items which were not included in our letter. I'd like to address those items first. We would like to see minimum building square footage specified for each housing type in addition to minimum lot sizes. Mr. Pittman has verbally committed to dark sky compliant lighting, but that is not reflected in this PUD's language. Additionally, at last month's meeting, Mr. Pittman mentioned that the lighting would match the neighboring Union Woodlands, which we do not believe are compliant, and house lighting specifies a coach-style fixture, which was not compatible with those requirements. Four-sided architecture is currently only required where the sides and/or rear face a public right-of-way or common area. Additionally, the 50% masonry requirement does not extend to the rear face of townhomes. Neither of these standards is consistent with the quality of design and building we expect to see in Zionsville. I want to move on to our primary concerns, which are discussed in much greater depth in our letter. Last month, I shared with you the calculation that this project's initial density was 25% higher than the previously proposed and denied reserve at Union Woodlands. We'd like to publicly correct that number. In fact, last month's petition was 53% higher than the reserve. Even with the reduction in residences by 17, this project is almost 40% higher than the reserve. Compared to other recently approved projects in the vicinity, this project is between 2 to 4 times more dense. This petition falls within the same comprehensive plan recommended land use as Maple Lane Club, and we would expect to see similar density of 1.98 lots per acre rather than the currently proposed 3.35 lots per acre. Last month, some commissioners commented that this project would set a precedent for other development in this area. SRZ agrees. We have suggested both to neighbors and to Mr. Pittman the idea of an overall development plan for this property and the other surrounding properties. He was receptive to this idea and has shared with us that he is working to contact other property owners for discussion. We know this area will continue to develop, and we're supportive of looking at the southeast corner of US 421 and 200 South as a cohesive area, ensuring that this critical section of 421 is developed considerately, not in a piecemeal fashion, one parcel at a time. SRZ respectfully requests that the density of the petition be reduced further with a target of 2.0 units per acre. If Pittman Partners is unwilling to reduce the density, we request the petition be forwarded to the Zionsville Town Council with an unfavorable recommendation. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Julia Schultz, and I live in the Traders Point Rural Historic District of Zionsville. I must admit I was a little surprised to see that this was coming back. I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting, so I'm kind of catching up. But a very similar version of this was already turned down by Town Council. So it leaves me wondering why it's back in the first place. At that time, the council asked Mr. Pittman if he would consider reducing densities. He said no. He said it wouldn't be profitable and he was tired. Apparently, he's not. It appears that he's going to keep bringing this back with different reconfigurations until finally he gets something. And it's like he's chopping the project up now into smaller pieces. Well, if I can get this one at the bottom, then they'll go and it's a precedent set and I can just keep creeping. I find that kind of underhanded, personally. None of us are fooled by it either. The best reason of all for denying this project and sending an unfavorable recommendation came from Council Member Tim McElderry when he made his motion. So I'm going to rephrase his comments. He basically stated that you wouldn't put farmland in the middle of the village, so don't put a village in the middle of farmland. Make no mistake, whether you start at the edges of the farmland or you start in the center of the farmland, either way, you're going to creep over and you're going to take over that farmland and it's gone. You will never get it back. You are going to destroy the very fabric of our town and everything that makes us unique. We are only uniquely Zionsville because of the diverse characteristics of this town. It's a unique blend of large farms, hobby farms, rural residential and equestrian properties, as well as the village, upscale neighborhoods like the Willows, the Austin Oaks, all these different areas. All of them, are equally as important. and should not be gobbled up by developers who are usually non-residents and don't care about Zionsville. And just because there are other larger townhome areas, it doesn't mean they're right, it doesn't mean everybody likes them, and it doesn't mean we should continue doing that. Most of us moved here because of the existing characteristics. Sadly, there's been an aggressive development movement to turn Zionsville into another Carmel by adding generic, high-density housing PUDs at an alarming pace. If this trend continues, we might as well put signs up at every entrance to Zionsville that states, "This town is for sale to the highest bidding developers." It will have to be renamed Carmel 2 because Zionsville no longer exists. There are other considerations that also play a role, such as quality of life concerns from things like additional traffic, which also affects our air quality, and the issue of property taxes in Zionsville, to name a few. Continuing to add higher density housing will only exacerbate the problem and increase the need for more schools, more emergency services, more infrastructure. We don't yet know the full impact of the large quantity of dwelling units that have been added in the last 5 years. So it would behoove us to put the brakes on, especially since the funding source, which is mainly property taxes, could be changing in the not too distant future. So please keep in mind that this also is not an issue of property rights, because if it were an existing right, we wouldn't be here arguing this. The very act of seeking rezoning and approvals clearly indicates the right does not exist for this project. So the property rights argument is moot, so please don't use that one. As previously stated, Town Council already turned this down in a very similar concept. The concept is not a good fit. This project still is not a good fit, and it should be turned down. Please support Town Council's previous decision, deny the project, and give an unfavorable recommendation. We're begging you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was unaware of your sign-in sheet, so we'll do a better job next time.
Yeah, please do take a moment to sign in,
I
as
didn't
well
bring
as
a
state
pen
your
with
name.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, we're providing leniency on that just because a lot of people don't know about that rule.
Good evening. My name's Brett Dodd, 2620 Wolverine Way. We're about a half mile north of 146, 300 South, on the west side of 421. So I'm a fourth generation resident. My son is the fifth, and my grandson is the sixth. My great-grandfather owned what was the interurban station, the train depot, then the bus station, then McCamey's, then Rosie's. My great-aunt built the original town hall that had the vaudeville stage in the basement. So Grandpa, my grandfather, told me that, Zionsville Road was a gravel road till after the war. There used to be an ordinance on the book that if you were going to drive a car at night, you had to have a person walking in front of you with a lantern. I don't think that's still there, but it may be. So I've seen a lot. When I was growing up, it was about 1,800 people, lower middle class, blue collar, still a lot of agricultural. Last census, I think, was over 30,000. And now it's upper middle class with the highest per capita income in the state of Indiana, last time I looked. I get change, it's inevitable, but it needs to be responsible, and it needs to be about your community. When I originally bought a house in Zionsville, it was $56,000. Yay. Then we bought a house in Village Walk, and we moved to Fox Run in 2004. I could get to the airport in 20 minutes. Well, the lights were favorable. I could get to the airport in 20 minutes. Now it takes me 20 minutes just to get to 465. There's dangerous intersections on 421, especially at Willow Road. Does anybody know the traffic load that this subdivision is going to put on 421? Has that been, I understand the state of Indiana is in the process of designing improvements to the road, I think all the way to 32. And The planning suggests that they'll start sometime in spring of 2027. So given the challenges with that road today, the way that it's reduced the flow of traffic for everybody, the common user as well as those trying to go to work, come back from work, the dangerous intersections, I think this subdivision, other subdivisions, PUDs that have been approved are putting a load on that road that's irresponsible until those improvements are finished. The other thing, do we know what the target price or target value of selling price of those townhouses and homes are? You know, I find it saddens me that my friends and a lot of people that grew up here can't afford to live here anymore. They can't experience it because they can't afford it. It was outrageous the amount of money that my son had to pay for his house. And if he didn't have a 6-digit income, there's no way he could have afforded it. So I think 2 things or 3 things I'd like to consider. One is table this until 421 improvements are finished. Don't put any more construction load on that corridor. You know, last improvements took, what, over 2 years? I lost days in travel time because of that construction. The congestion, the delays, and again, you have unsafe intersections. 2 is strive to get affordable housing for a typical income family. You know, that's the foundation of this community, not $6 million homes, not $8 million homes, not the kind of things we're seeing coming in. And 3rd is put the community first over new development. The safety of the community and what the community needs, not what the developer needs. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ted Stowe, and I live at 10316 Fox Trace, and I serve as the HOA Vice President for Fox Run. First, I'd like to thank you for your dedication to the town of Zionsville and for the countless hours you spend in this role, which I can imagine often feels thankless. We appreciate you. There are 42 homes in Fox Run, and not surprisingly, we weren't listed on the slides there. And the proposed development is almost directly across from our entrance and exit. My wife drove for 30 years without an accident until she was hit while turning to Fox Run off busy Michigan Road with my son in the car. Had she turned her wheel just slightly different, who knows what the result might have been with the oncoming traffic. There's no dedicated turn lane there. Since then, 3 more developments have been approved in the nearby area. This project would be the 4th, with a density we have not yet seen. And it's just 100 feet from where the accident occurred, which is why this traffic issue is especially pertinent to Fox Run residents and our immediate neighbors. I know that US 421 is a state road. I also recognize that the Planning Commission can't always hear from every resident on every proposal, thank God. But I'm sure they'd agree that broader input is preferable. Too often we only hear from those directly impacted at events like this. But we've all seen how the outcomes of PUDs without covenants affect all of us, and we can all feel it. We live in a special corner of Zionsville, a rural part of town where life still moves at the pace of nature. Yet we know the faces at the Brick Street Market. We strive to support local businesses and reinvest our tax dollars in our innovators. It's the kind of place that reminds us of what community truly means. We know our town is different, and we can all feel it. We are the type of town that says no to endless apartments at Wolf Run and yes to the Carpenter Nature Preserve. We are the type of town that says yes, we can be a blue zone and we can expand the rail trail so our citizens can stay active and healthy. We are a town that says yes, we are going to save the bricks and the gazebo, which remind us of Lincoln's whistle-stop visit. We are a Tree City USA and the first town in the Midwest to become certified as a National Wildlife Federation Community Wildlife Habitat. That certification recognizes our efforts to create, preserve, and restore habitats supporting local wildlife through native plants, reduced pesticides, and community green spaces. And we can all feel it. Now, though, We feel something different when we drive home and see construction signs where tall grass once swayed. We feel it when plans are drawn up that would turn fields into high-density townhomes and busy commercial corners with a couple of ornamental trees dropped in just for show. We feel it when storefronts go up facing the wrong way on the supposed entranceway to our town, turning their backs to the very streets they were meant to serve and welcome others. Sadly, we all feel that too. Zionsville has long been a town that values quality of life. We have schools that give our children opportunities, neighborhoods that feel safe, and a culture of caring that binds us together. We are a town within a park that takes pride in its canopy, its trails, its open land. The beauty of this place doesn't come from how much we build. It comes from how thoughtfully we grow. That's why we gather here tonight, not in opposition to progress, but in defense of balance. We can grow while still preserving what makes us whole. We can encourage business without losing our small town spirit. We can say yes to thoughtful planning and no to what threatens the heart of our community. We can welcome development, but on our terms, holding our developers to the same values of the very town that welcomes them. Too much, too fast. Because deep down, every one of us knows what's at stake, and that we can all feel it. When the fields disappear, we lose more than scenery. We lose a piece of our identity, a piece of our quaintness. So let's work together to protect what drew us here in the first place. An idyllic downtown, the trees, the quiet, the sense of purpose that can't be measured in square footage. Let's remind ourselves and our leaders that progress should never mean paving over our values. This is our town, our legacy, our home, and we can all feel it. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else? Okay.
David Haug. I live at 2450 South US 421. Unfortunately, I have the honor of living right across the street from their entrance. I'm probably also one of the newest residents to Zionsville on Michigan Road. We moved in January 1 and found out about this about a week later. I was thrilled to hear that they defeated the apartments, but not so thrilled that there was potential office buildings across the street from me. Leapfrog development, spot development has never been a good thing. The state has been strongly against it for a long time. Our town should be strongly against it. Dropping this in, where you're dropping this in, and specifically I'll talk about the office buildings. 50,000 square feet of office buildings across the street from me, max it out. Go do the measurement. There's barely enough room to drive around it, let alone park there. Everybody else has already talked about what we're talking about, and it's density. I have a business downtown. I'm thrilled to have more people. I would love to have more high-end residential homes. I spoke with John Stair about it at length. Half-acre to acre lots makes sense for the town, according to him. This kind of density, it's almost a little bit the opposite. That fire department up the street, the traffic you're creating, which has been reiterated over and over again. And I'll stop at that for the most part. I talk to people a lot downtown. I talk to the people that come to this town as a business owner. People like why they come to this town. It's a great little town. They don't want Carmel. They don't want Westfield. They don't want that. They want Zionsville. They want it to stay the way it is. There's a lot of this that's not helping Zionsville stay the way it is. And you know, parking will always be a problem downtown. It's never going to change. It's a 100 and however many year old downtown. My building's 100 and however many years old. It's going to have the problems it has. But when people start coming downtown, it's like, you know, things are changing. You know, there's just more traffic here. They're putting up these big buildings. I mean, the silos is way too big. They belong over in Carmel. You want to put them in Westfield like they did on 146, let them do it. But the way you're letting things change in Zionsville, I think we need to pump the brakes and say, whoa, let's see what happens with some of this. Let some of the office buildings that are already down the street available, let them get filled, not be for sale, not be for lease. How about all that? Something to think about.
Thank you.
My name is Sherry Leffler. I live at 1850 South, 1200 East. Recently, the Project Maple Glen Club was approved in our area. While the density exceeded what most of the residents desired, it offered a unique feature as it included Watch Us Farm. I, along with others, supported it because it recognized the need to preserve the rural character of our area. This project has attracted the support of Purdue and Indiana universities, along with other substantial donors. I'm excited to talk about this project and what it will bring to our community. This project should set a standard for future development, as there's going to be several eyes locally, nationally, and worldwide on this area. Entry to the area for this new project will be via Michigan Road and 200 South. The proposed residential areas of Woodland Grove are townhomes and a tract subdivision with limited green space and no agricultural features. It would create the same feeling that one receives when driving towards Anson, Whitestown, or local roads to Westfield and Carmel. Our area should serve as a gateway to the agricultural area, as opposed to a continuation of the development on 300 South and Michigan Road. If this project is approved, it has the potential to set a negative standard for future development along 200 South. As drawn, it shows stub streets leading into a northern property. At our recent meeting with Steve Pittman, he was asked about these extensions, and he stated that they were required by Zionsville, which they very well could be for the flow. He was also asked if he had plans to develop the property north of this project. He stated he did not have plans. Records show that Pittman Investments has purchased this property. At this purchase price, it's unlikely it's going to be used for agriculture. Appaloosa Crossing was previously approved as a PUD, and residents were led to believe that it would be professional offices, as similarly proposed in this project. As we all know, Appaloosa Crossing continues to be anything but professional offices. At our last planning meeting, there was significant discussion regarding dumpster placement on another project. Yet at Appaloosa Crossing, one of the latest additions is a liquor store with more signage than an adult bookstore. It also sells propane on the front sidewalk and has a food trailer in the parking lot. So this leads us to believe how is a PUD controlled once it's written? So with that being said, what guarantee is there for the commercial aspect of Woodland Grove to be built as proposed? While I recognize that there have been changes made to the original proposal, density remains an issue, along with the lack of recognition and flow into the existing rural areas. The density exceeds, which, depending on whose numbers you look at, prior proposals in this area that were rejected, and the design is very similar to the past proposals. Another thing I'd like to point out is that Union Woodland is continuously thrown into the mix, but Union Woodland was not a Zionsville project. We inherited that project in our area from Boone County, and I don't think Zionsville has ever been supportive or positive about that development. I would ask that you save everyone's time and energy by giving Woodland Grove an unfavorable recommendation. Zionsville has the opportunity to create a unique area beyond the brick street that would pay tribute to our rural heritage. Thank you for your time.
All right, if anyone's coming up, try to keep the message specific to this development.
Greg Schultz. I'm in the historic rural district of Zionsville. I wasn't planning on talking, but my wife and I escaped from California 5 years ago. We looked across the entire western United States from the Rockies west to look for a place to live. My mom grew up down in Poseyville, southern Indiana. I have cousins down there still. My wife said, look at the little town up here. It's got less humidity and it looks nice. And I went out a couple of times and brought back video, and we go, that looks like a very nice place to relax and get out of the suburban rural that we were in. And I was in a little town of the hometown of Yorba Linda of Richard Nixon, hometown of Richard Nixon. And I believe Mr. Pittman was there too at one time. And we watched that grow and grow, Orange County grow, and it was getting more and more congested from what they called sustainable living. They put businesses down below and living quarters above, and they started cramming that in all over Orange County, LA County, and we escaped from it. And I'm seeing that starting to happen here. And you've heard all the problems in California. And you are making this California. And if you want California here, you start approving these types of projects, you're going to get California here. And I think you should really rethink this. And I think all of us are agreeable with growth in a responsible manner, but this should be turned down and sent forward to the city council to say, no, it's not a good recommendation for this town because you're going to turn it into California.
Good evening. Garrett Weorder, 2400 South US Highway 421. I'm directly right across from this development. Actually, my driveway will be affected by the drive going in to this complex. In the interest of time, David already touched on my concerns with commercial. A lot of people have already touched on density. I just ask you to look at the townhouses and those homes and try not to fall into the east-west that Kyle mentioned in his comments. Look at how much density is where the townhomes are at. And I guess my last point, I don't know if we need to fix this or not, but the staff report indicates that this was withdrawn and not denied the last time. So I don't know if this becomes a legal document when it goes to the town council. If that wording, I'll leave it up to you guys, but if that wording needs to change to being declined by the town council instead of being withdrawn by Mr. Pittman. And I do appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Henry, 2316 South US Highway 421, Zionsville, Indiana. Neighbor of Garrett's. I'll be directly across from the project as well. So wanted to let you know that, and I applaud Mr. Pittman for his engagement from a neighbor's standpoint. He and I have spoken on a number of occasions. We spoke for nearly an hour about a month ago. I represented some concerns that Garrett and I and some of our other neighbors up on the west side of Michigan Road had. I documented in an email, and then I listed the things that we would like to see improved about the project. But the first thing I would tell you, and Steve knows this, I don't want the project. I don't like the project. But if the town of Zionsville wants to take a piece of agricultural land and stick 150, now 120 townhomes in an absolute nothing surrounding, and I know John Hefton wrote a letter of support just to the north there, but for the most part, it is absolutely in the middle of nowhere. I did tell Mr. Pittman that I was fully supportive of single-family detached housing. I thought Laurel's comments were very good. You know, again, it's Saverville Zionsville negotiated a wonderful plan at Bradley Ridge. They were involved again at Maple Lane, and I thought Maple Lane was the new floor. This proposal is a new floor at 6.6. Kyle's fantastic, by the way, isn't he? Kyle identified 6.6 units in the Discovery Commons, and that is dramatically higher than Maple Lane. Are we ready to establish a new floor? We probably all should have shut up after Ted got done with his impassioned. Is it appropriate to applaud? Because I sure wanted to, because Ted was fantastic. Anyway, sorry, I'm focused here. But Mr. Pittman and I had a good conversation about the things we wanted to amend. One of those was commercial would be limited to a single story. At that point, Steve said, sounds good to me. The other one was that townhomes would be limited to 2 stories. He mentioned that sounds good to him. Again, I'm not for different reasons, those things have changed. Now we've got commercial that can be up to 2-story. Now we've got 50% of the townhomes up to 3-story. The town council had a real concern about the height when it denied the most recent, but we're 50% at 3-story. So, and I know Kyle's going to address this because he's awfully good, and that's fine. Steve was willing to make some landscape plan improvements. He dramatically improved the foundation plantings on some of the buffering. I do appreciate that. He did identify and remove retail permission, permitted use exclusion. I appreciate that. So again, I commend him and appreciate his willingness to engage. He actually absorbed, I think, some things we were saying about masonry inclusion on 50%. Those are all good. Though I appreciate that. If Zionsville wants townhomes built in the middle without any contiguous development, I know there's residential, it catches a couple of corners of this development. If Zionsville wants townhomes there, Steve's been amenable to making, I think, some things that we wanted to see, but we don't want to see the townhomes. We don't mind townhomes. Mr. Henke is building, I think, 40 townhomes next to some other commercial development. I know I'm supposed to stay here, but we've talked about 12 different developments, so it feels like that's appropriate. Those are contiguous with other commercial developments. This doesn't feel contiguous to anything, but I respect his role. I've enjoyed getting to know him. He's a developer, and he does, and that's what he does for a living. And I appreciate that, and I respect that. I just don't like his project in this location. Let's find some other space for it potentially, but not in the middle of an agricultural, large lot residential area. Appreciate your service, all of you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Any other presenters? Again, keep your comments specific to this development, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief. It feels like yesterday that we were up here on this same piece of land, but I guess it was like 6 months ago. And during that process, I think myself and the neighbors met with Mr. Pittman over half a dozen times and maybe even had half a dozen phone calls on top of that. I also talked and spoke with several of you and the town council. And a big takeaway I got was, okay, Anna, if this isn't what you want, what do you want? And by the way, Anna Shapaw, 11779 East 200 South. Sorry, I got so excited. And I thought that's a fair point, right? I don't want to be called a remonstrator. I don't want to be a not in my backyarder. I moved here 4 years ago because this is a great place to live, and I want other people to have that same opportunity. So we worked really, really hard with Mr. Pittman on this last project to say, here's what we want. Here's what we don't like. Here's what we do like. What we told him was we wanted no townhouses. We wanted less density. We wanted something that honored the rural heritage of our area. I don't think you can compare this area to 421 south of 146. We're coming north. We're coming into rural Zionsville. This is different. I don't think at the time we could quite put a project together that showcased what we were looking for, but we told him we wanted under 2 units per acre. We'd like to see the townhouses reduced. We'd like to see quality commercial that enhances our neighborhood, that gave us amenities that we could frequent. And instead, he came back with more density in this project, more townhouses, and larger scale commercial. We worked on that for like 10 months. And as I looked at this project, I thought, what are we doing? This just got denied at half the density and half the scale. And now here we are coming back at double. Like, did our feedback mean nothing? And so along comes Maple Lane Club. And I think you heard most of us in here say we wanted to support that. Because when we met with that team, we articulated those same things. No townhouses, reduced density, honor the rural heritage. Check, 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 okay? So we established 1.9 units per acre. We established 10% of the acreage was going to have an agritourism feature. We had high quality development. The commercial focused on having a little farmer's market area, on having businesses that would play off of the neighborhood that was built there. And for the first time since I've been paying attention to this, you had everybody in support of it. You had everybody saying yes to it. And so I would just like to propose that we start saying yes to things and we start using the standards that we've set as the precedent and stop going back and forth as neighbors and wasting each other's time because we've all already agreed. The town council has already said no to a project at half this density. They've already said yes to a project across the street. We know what the standard is. We know what people want. Let's say no to this project and yes to more projects like Maple Lane Club. Thank you.
All right, one more. Again, your name and address, please.
Kayla Solway, 271 Larkspur Court, and I'm just going to be super brief. I just was here last year when they had excellent speakers from the airport that knew a lot more about it, pointing out that this is not zoned for residential, it's not safe, that will never change. So I just don't understand why this is even being considered if it's not safe. That's it. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Looks like we've exhausted the comments. At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. Turn it back over to the petitioner for rebuttal.
Thank you to the residents of Zionsville for offering their comments tonight. That's a much needed element of the Plan Commission and the council's consideration of this proposal. We don't take that lightly. We hope you've heard during their comments that Steve and his team, myself, members of my team have taken an opportunity over the last month or more to engage in discussion on how to improve this project. This project is not the reserve. It is a unique project. It does follow in time, not 4 months, not 6 months, but the timing is not important. What is important is that we have considered the comments of this Plan Commission and the council in how to take a 50-acre parcel of land and improve it in a way that meets the comprehensive plan, that meets a draft future comprehensive plan, and that incorporates comments from this Plan Commission and the town council of elements that you liked about the prior project. It also responds to the town's call for additional commercial development that creates what we often refer to as 3% tax cap property assessment. It creates a diversity in residential offerings so that this great town can be more accessible to a greater variety of residents within this community. Development along this corridor of 421, unfortunately, cannot be a whiteboarding exercise. It is not a think tank exercise. It is you are combining the expertise of developers with the thoughtful recognition of comments from the public and the elected and appointed officials and the staff of this great community. We greatly appreciate staff's continued help and guidance throughout this process, and we call to the attention of this Plan Commission that staff supports a recommendation of approval from this Plan Commission and sending this PUD to the town council with your favorable recommendation. This is not leapfrog development. I would challenge that development north of 421, in fact, was also not leapfrog development. This development actually poses an opportunity to intelligently infill a stretch of 421 that this town has at least preliminarily identified as a way to provide mixed use development housing and commercial opportunities to connect the commercial and residential communities at 146th Street to the more agricultural, rural, and importantly, residential subdivisions that have been approved by the town council to the north. Hitting on a few of the more fine points raised during public comment. Traffic concerns, this Plan Commission knows well that that is an NDOT discussion. But what I will offer is that part of this development will ultimately be a dedicated turn lane for traffic moving south and then turning east into the facility, making a left turn lane. It will also include an A-cell, D-cell lane for traffic moving north and turning right into the development. The current draft of the PUD does consider the commercial buildings being two-story. I have learned tonight that petitioner is agreeable to restricting that to one story. That can be in a revision to the PUD if this is sent to Plan Commission or in the form of a commitment, sent to the council or in the form of commitment. The Plan Commission and the council did not support the density, the larger lots, and the volume of the residential lots of the reserve along 200. So what did we do? We took the comments that this Plan Commission and the town council offered on what they did like about this 50 acres and implemented that. I offered in my introductory comments of how the density aligns with our neighbors and how the density aligns with comparable facilities. I expect that there'll be a Q&A opportunity here, so I will finish my comments by in closing to encourage the Plan Commission to be thoughtful about the time that this town has spent to identify future land classifications in your draft plan, and that should not be confused with a zoning map, but it should be used as a way to identify potential land uses and use mixes that should be considered if changes to existing land uses are proposed. Direct quote from the draft plan. Again, thank you to staff for the favorable recommendation. Thank you for the dialogue last month, and I look forward to the discussion tonight. I respectfully, again, request for a favorable recommendation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Plan Commission, it's our time to share our own thoughts and ask questions.
Since there was a commitment made just now, want to clarify that. You said one-story buildings in the commercial area. Are they going to then not exceed 35 feet? And what is the new height standard of those buildings going to be?
Correct. So I will turn to Exhibit 5. In the Michigan Road sub-district, there's a max building height presently of 40 feet. We can reduce that to 35 feet. And also within, I believe it would be a definitional change to the commercial buildings to limit them to one story in the same fashion as the defined townhomes are presently limited to 3 stories. So similar text there can be implemented.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
As president, I just wanted to say to the audience that we always have a difficult job with projects like this. A lot of your comments are things that we hear on a regular basis. We do take it seriously. We have a comprehensive plan we're trying to follow. We're trying to do good urban planning for our community or rural planning. I use the term urban just meaning it's the general term that we use for planning the future of a community. Some of the comments did lean towards the idea of a moratorium, meaning that we need to put the brakes on or we need to stop development. Cities and towns don't really have that tool available to them, except in very extraordinary circumstances, and even so, they have to be done for brief periods of time. Our federal and state courts have not allowed communities to do that. So In this particular case, you know, we also, in the United States, give property owners the right to propose developments. We can't tell them they cannot propose a development. So we have to hear any project that's presented in front of us. We just don't have a magic wand where we can tell them they can't even submit for a project. Transportation came up a fair amount. It's unfortunate in a lot of cases that transportation always lags behind development. It's just the way it's always has been done. Our state and federal governments don't allow us to raise enough money ahead of time to kind of stay ahead of transportation issues. It's always going to be a lag. And also, that's not something that the Plan Commission has the authority to enforce or impose on a developer. As much as we'd like to, in some cases, there are some cases where we're scratching our heads as well. It's not easy to use that as a nexus for denying a project. It can be done, but our ordinances currently don't support that. It's something on my personal list that would like to have some language that allows us to pause if adequate public facilities are clearly not available, which would prevent that leapfrog development. Leapfrog development was brought up. I mean, you could easily make the argument that Bradley Ridge, Holiday Farms, Maple Lane are all leapfrog developments, no different than this particular one. But we saw the positives with those developments. And this project, to me at least, is more contiguous than some of those other projects that we've considered and approved. One thing that I'm not really supportive of, and I'm glad that some of you brought this up, is homogeneous growth, meaning that we don't want to emulate Carmel. We don't want to emulate other communities. We do want to preserve, I think everyone on the Plan Commission at one point or another has spoken about not being like other communities. It is difficult to do that, but it is possible to do that, and we are always trying to keep an eye on that. Unfortunately, we have state legislation right now that's taking away, if it gets approved, is taking away municipalities across the entire state's ability to be unique. It's basically saying that you have to treat all development the exact same and you can't say no to certain things. It's unfortunate, but if that gets adopted, we're going to have our hands tied even more. There was also comments about council action and Plan Commission action, which was about a year ago. It may seem like it was just 6 months ago, but it was actually a little bit longer than that ago. We do have rules, and correct me if I'm wrong, Roger or Mike, that says that we cannot reconsider the exact same project for a period of time unless it substantively changes. What is brought back before us tonight, in our opinion at least, or my opinion looking at it, and I know staff, I believe, supports this as well, is that it is a different project. It's not the same. It's the same developer, it's the same parcels, but it is substantially a different project. And it's honestly, we gave some feedback at that time saying that if they came back with just a piece along the 421, we would be more prone to consider that. Now, we still have to sort that out tonight, but I think that we do believe that this is a substantively different project. They met that mark. And the last thing I was going to say is that, and I feel it always touches my heart that we hear the comments about, you know, we want growth to slow down, you know, why take away these farm fields? Why take away this green space? And as an urban planner, I've worked in cities, towns, and counties all across the country, Australia, New Zealand, and I've heard that comment everywhere, like everywhere. That's the number one thing that gets said. But what is kind of a counterpoint to that is that almost every subdivision in this town, in our town, has had this exact same remonstration. The Enclave, I know, was fought hard against, and many other developments. We could go back to the minutes and read those, and we would hear the exact same comments. And again, that's the hard job that we have, is to try to sort this out. Does this meet the test of what's good for Zionsville or not? But we do have to recognize that literally every house in the village was built on a farm field at one point. Every house, your houses, all were built on farm fields. So that argument by itself is hard for us to consider, just because we can't say that the last person that bought here or built here is the last person that gets to live here. So just some general responses to some of the comments. We do have a hard job in front of us, so want to open it up again to the Planning Commission for questions of the petitioner, requests of the petitioner, comments about the public input, that type of thing. And certainly disagree with what I just said as well if you feel I didn't speak for the Planning Commission.
I will say that this, when you brought up the project was significantly different, and you said it was the same parcels. It's actually not the same parcels. The previous project had some additional parcels involved in it, just to prove that this is significantly a different project than the previous project. I will agree it's the same developer with a few of the same parcels, but this is a significantly different project than the previous one.
I got a question for Kyle. After hearing public's comments, in consideration of the previous zoning and the new comprehensive plan, I'm just curious what you might want to say in regards to any consideration that you might have paid towards including an agritourism component to the project.
Thank you, Nick, for the question there. The agritourism designation is a challenging one to employ in every project. In that it is an amorphous concept, but what we see in the root of agritourism and its designation on the comp plan is, how do we take the land that we have before us and honor its natural resources. And we would be remiss to not recognize that 5 or more acres of the land is being preserved for the benefit of the residents of this community. It's that within the boundaries of this 51-acre site, there is a beautiful wooded area. And how do we capture, for the benefit of those who will live on that site, how do we capture that? That is going to be done by a consideration of walking trails in that area. I know that there's also been a consideration of implementing a physical fitness element and connecting with personal health and nature in the walking trail. Also, a feature of the site is recognizing sort of the natural flow of water, as well as the buffering areas and really substantial natural looking water features in the retention pond, and the decrease in the number of lots, particularly townhome lots, has allowed for additional space between the buildings, as well as that common area at the front, at the north side of the property. The agritourism elements of this site are going to be best enjoyed by the residents of this site, as opposed to the general public, for a variety of development concerns, including safety and traffic. So there's a balancing act there. Nick, did that answer your question? Thank you.
Additional questions, comments, requests?
I know, the current comp plan has that section where the single family resides, in an agritourism area. The new comp plan doesn't. That's the draft plan, shows it as a conventional subdivision. We're right at the very end of the uniquely Zionsville comprehensive plan. If you're here tonight, I hope you've been a part of the comp plan thus far. And if you truly have an issue with conventional subdivisions, I would say, to get a hold of, your elected officials and tell them you don't want this here, because, the new plan, that's not even a question or conversation that's asked or that's brought up. The other part of it that's hard is, under the new plan, there is a mixed use. This mostly falls under that, which says it is 2 to 4, but more if it is townhomes. And what's hard is when I've been a part of the comprehensive plan as a steering committee, as a resident. It's hard because everyone spoke about how wonderful the town is. Yes, it is very wonderful. And then they started to talk about affordability, and they want there to be affordability, but they also want it to be exclusive. They want exclusivity. They want to know everybody that's on the main street. And so the hard part for us is, how do we balance exclusivity with affordable living? Those two things don't go hand in hand in a capitalistic market. It doesn't. Now you're getting into something completely different that, I don't think we want to even talk about. So it does get hard. Then we talk about needing to the huge thing that was talked about is diversify housing, diversify our taxable income. This project does both of those things by adding the commercial into that area. It is a half a mile north of Appaloosa. It's a half mile south of the new, project that's going in on County Road 200. I think there's opportunity for this commercial to kind of support that northwestern, western part. They've taken out retail, some of the junk boxes, or, that folks call it just like copy and paste, to allow for folks to potentially open up their own business and office space that is hard to get. You talk about exclusivity, it is very hard to find a place in Zionsville to open, a personal franchise or open and have a personal office. So that's kind of where it does get hard to, sit up here and say, yes, we do want to have things this way, but also have them that way. That's kind of what
The airport was brought up as well. I wanted to address that. This actually, focusing on the 421 corridor, my understanding is the airport does not consider this a conflict as it was with the larger parcel. It's the parcels that are not being presented tonight that were the most highly concerned for the airport, and that's why they're not here representing their interests, because at least I believe that they're okay with this. There's also at least some rumor that the airport is going to evolve a little bit and not need the crosswind runway, and some other things maybe are evolving there too, and that may also be why they're not here tonight. As far as townhomes, one gentleman brought up affordability. Townhomes, to me, is at least one of those options for a more affordable way to live in Zionsville. Our decisions aren't necessarily made based on that, but it is a consideration. Another thing, though, that I think about is that if every one of the persons that might live in a townhome were to be on a half-acre lot, we would be consuming 4 times more land for that same population that wants to be here. That compact form of townhouses gives us the ability to preserve land and to not have it just be a sprawl of half-acre lots. You also, scientifically, again, my background is in urban planning, is that it's very hard to provide public services to low-density residential areas. and do that affordably. Not that it can't be done, it's just as a much higher price point. Again, that's part of what's in the comprehensive plan is considerations for that, our tax base, et cetera. Right now, the campus housing, and Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the town council has generally asked the plan commission to be following the current comprehensive plan until the new comprehensive plan is completed, because it's an evolving thing. Is that?
Well, I haven't asked you to do anything.
No, but I thought that
but-
there was some advice from the council that's come our way.
So I think that is a great point that you bring up, and I think that's kind of the part where town staff likes to, bring forward the comprehensive plan that's in process, that has not been approved. And then, I personally, since you brought it up, believe that we should be matching the existing comp plan until the new comp plan is blessed by the council or, and then shot back to us. There's so much on that comp plan, and there's so many areas of Zionsville that are affected by this comp plan, and there's a lot of nuanced details that stand out. And I agree with Kendrick's idea of reach out to any of your counselors. You can reach out to me. Let us know if you've seen anything on the comprehensive plan that you just don't think is appropriate. We want to hear that. I want to let you continue to speak, and then I'll.
Yeah, so one point that I would like to make is that if we are following the existing comprehensive plan, this proposal actually meets that plan more so than it meets the future comprehensive plan. And, we have campus housing, which is presumably a more intense type of housing. It's not low-density housing that's called out in that particular plan. And it also implies mixed use, which this is a mixed-use development. So, if we are following the existing comprehensive plan, I think this is a better fit for that, and maybe is a worse fit for the future one, I don't know, but, that's my opinion about it.
I appreciate your, sounds like you're supportive.
I'm just saying, making the point that if you compare the two, the current plan does support this more so than the future plan.
Yeah.
As it's drawn.
As I'm looking at it, initially, I'm looking at the map for the airport overlay, and what I do see is that there's a Tier 2 area that strongly discourages the new residential development, and that would be the eastern part of this development with the residential single-family homes being in that area. I voted several years back to approve the airport plan, and I feel that they know better than I with regards to the airport needs, with regards to dangerous and potential issues that could be caused by an airplane flying over, whatever the situation. That's why I voted to approve that. I have a little concern with that with regards to this particular development of Woodland Grove overlapping into that Tier 2 area. The front area, which would be the Michigan Road area, is in the Tier 3, which is the limit residential to multifamily housing types and minor subdivisions of existing residential lots. The multifamily component there is hitting the bar. It's kind of what you're saying. The Michigan Road overlay in that area, where this development is hitting that. I think that's important to talk about because somebody before us wanted that along Michigan Road, logically understanding that Michigan Road is going to connect us to 32, to Lebanon, to Westfield, and then to Indianapolis, Carmel, Zionsville, Pike area. That thoroughfare does need to be addressed. It is being addressed as well. And I will agree with our president here that mentions that unfortunately government kind of follows the development with regards to improvement of transportation routes. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying I like it. I've witnessed, I've been involved in an accident on West Oak Street, and your speech, sir, it hit me, it tugged on me. My brother was involved in the accident, and I watched it happen, and then my vehicle got totaled at all part of the same thing. Now we have a roundabout on West Oak Street, and it's a little better. That being said, when we talk about housing, tonight alone, we heard one speaker talk about it's too dense, all the while asking for affordable housing, and I don't understand how you do both. You can't say it's too dense and then not have affordable housing. I will say location matters, and I think that's the greatest leverage button that we really have tonight with regards to this PUD. Another concern of mine, PUD enforcement. Somebody brought it up. I think it may have been, I'm not sure who brought up PUD enforcement with regards to the lighting. We're going to see another item on the docket later this evening with regards to something that I believe that lighting really matters in these developments. And I don't mean to jump across. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that is something I will talk about later. The lighting and the light pollution does matter out in these rural settings, in these unurbanized areas that are becoming urbanized with these densification projects. I do want to say a couple things. It sounds like I'm being negative here towards this project, and really I am. I kind of don't want to vote for this project tonight. I kind of want to be more thoughtful myself after kind of reviewing this project. However, I do want to say that the attorney in this project, and it sounds like the developer, have been very thoughtful and reactionary. If you look at some of the developments, if you look at this development, one of the things that I specifically requested in the past was these townhomes are just straight in a line. And I've been in neighborhoods in Carmel, and I've been in the tunnel of these very large townhomes, and it's awful. It's not Zionsville, it's Carmel. I will say the reactionary part of this developer is that they adjusted that, very slightly adjusted the driveway. I appreciate you doing that and being reactionary. I don't think it's going to sell me on this project, but I do appreciate that you put that effort into it. I think what my part of this project that I just can't get around is the density of it. I will say also, attempting to reduce the density, I respectfully appreciate that as well. And I know that you want us to vote based on you guys being reactionary to our request at the town council level and at the planning commission level. And again, I will say, you reduced it. You reduced it from 150 of the townhomes to 120. But by adding in the single family 13 homes, you reduced it about 7 units. And is it 17?
By 30, added 13.
Okay, so quick math says it's
17.
17?
Yeah.
17 townhomes, right, on the reduction, or overall? I'm missing a 1. Let me put that on here. I appreciate that. So there is a reaching out with this developer that has occurred on several of these things that we pulled out. The dim lighting on the commercial side of this, I think if we can invent or create something that we can put in our codes for this lighting to go dim at a certain time or when these businesses close, but maybe add a motion detection capability, so if there is something going on, it does pop on, indicates that there's more lighting so we don't trip and fall and then have a lawsuit, but yet dim the lights. Lighting is hugely important from the roundabout I just spoke of on West Oak Street. I mean, it's daylight around that roundabout right now in the evenings. And the city did that. Excuse me, the town of Zionsville did that. And I think that that's something that we just really need to consider moving forward. But with regards to this comp plan conversation, new or old, I think, you know, the agritourism component, that's great if we can make that work. However, not every development is going to have that component tied to it or have such a vigorous group that would support that, like we saw at the other development. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but the Watch Us Farm component of the Steve Hankey project. So
Yeah, Maple Lane.
Maple Lane, thank you. You know, going through some of these, I took notes on everybody that spoke tonight. This is the great part about what we do is we get to meet you, we get to hear from you, we get to hear the passion in your stories, and some of you speak better than others, just like some of us don't speak as well up here. But I just want you to know that we hear you, we understand, and we are passionate about, you know, not saving rural Zionsville, but saving Zionsville in general. The constant comment about we don't want to be Carmel and all that, I don't even, that doesn't bother me. Let's think about just Zionsville as a whole. We have a lot to be thankful for. We've got great developers in this town. We've got great developers that want to develop in this town. We've said no to a lot of them, and we will probably continue to say no to some of them in the future. But I would encourage the developers to continue to try and bring great developments, be thoughtful, and really, you know, I do appreciate some of the businesses that come to town, that we would, we benefit from those things. I would say silos, some people brought up silo, and I think not everything's going to be perfect when these developments come to town, and we're going to learn, and we're going to change as we move forward. But those are some of my comments. You know, I can't really say too much more negative about this with regards to, you know, 10% of your property in this case, right? 5 acres of the development was going to be saved, preserved. That's a word that we like to use in Zionsville, and of course that's not enough, but you're doing it, you're preserving it, and I can appreciate that. So one last comment. I think we talked about the housing, the affordable housing. It's just really hard. It's really hard to accommodate both those things, affordable housing and the density. And people want to come here because we are a desirable place to live, because we have people that are involved in this process, in this governmental process. And I'm really thankful that we get to see so much action from this perspective. And I'm really blessed that some people allow us, like myself, a blue-collar person, to be able to be involved in this process. So back to the development in general, I do appreciate all the things that you guys have done to try to make your project desirable to the neighbors as well as to the town of Zionsville. And with that, I'll stop talking.
Okay. Nikki, you're down there kind of isolated. Do you want to speak up here?
Sure, thank you. Well, first of all, I do love all the changes that were made from the original proposal, and I think that that's fantastic. And I'm probably the only one up here that the density doesn't bother me. I will tell you, I live in a neighborhood that has 1+ acre lots all the way down to very small lots to townhomes. And the community we have because of that is phenomenal. And to me, it has been wonderful watching my kids grow up in an area that was a little more dense. And the diversity of having different projects in Zionsville, I actually like. So I support it, but I may be outvoted, but I do support it.
While Kyle's at the microphone, does anyone else have comments for him or questions for him?
This may be a question for staff as well as Kyle. I'm going back to focus on the commercial area here. If we've limited this to banks, medical offices, essentially, or surgical centers, daycares, and professional offices, and then I'm going to put my old man hat on, being up here the longest. I remember approving the farm. It initially had professional offices, daycare, medical offices around the front of it. Over time, that's evolved and changed into something else. Appaloosa Crossing, if I remember, had medical offices included in it. We don't see those things. What is the what's the process in the PUD if in 3 years they come to and have a restaurant that wants to come in here? Is that a process where it's what is the process?
When a PUD comes forward, the general permitted use list has all of these things included. So when a project comes forward, if it's on the permitted use list, it's a permitted use. So office is permitted, restaurants are permitted. If only restaurants come forward, they're permitted uses. So that's one element of what we look at. To help try to keep a balance of mixes, you could say that we want to condition that no more than 20% of your retail space is one particular type of business, or the developer could commit to whatever number is most reasonable to him. But that's one way to help that situation.
And Josh,
Also, in response to your question, if a developer wanted to change the list of permitted uses, then it'd be a very similar process that we're seeing tonight. There would be a petition before the Plan Commission. There'd be public notice.
I didn't know if it was
public
BZA or
hearing,
Planning Commission.
Plan Commission to change the text of the ordinance. It'd be like a zoning code amendment,
Okay.
equivalent process, and Plan Commission's recommendation then to the town council.
from the petitioner perspective, we acknowledge that that process would be a PUD amendment. It would be an amendment to the underlying zoning ordinance. And for clarification, for particularly the members of the public in attendance, general retail has been removed as a permitted use. Restaurants are not permitted uses within this. I know that oftentimes members of the public kind of harken back to these discussions and say, you said the restaurant, would or wouldn't. Just want to clarify that a restaurant is not included in the permitted use table, which is Exhibit 4 to the ordinance.
And one more thing on the commercial. Someone brought up 2027, 421 was going to upgrade. I've heard that number change over the years numerous times, but realistically, 421 will be 4 lanes all the way to 32 at some point in time. As much as I'm not, at the time, it doesn't seem like it fits. I think when 421 is 4 lanes, commercial on 421 will make sense.
And with stoplights.
And with stoplights, yes.
And it's state, managed, controlled, so we don't really get a say in that.
I can remember not having a stoplight at 96th Street. I can remember not having a stoplight on 106,
Right.
116th. All these roads didn't have stoplights until the growth came into the area. So.
All right, Kyle, I think we're done with questions for you. Just was going to continue to deliberate here amongst the Plan Commission. I know anti-monotony, Craig, I think you just kind of touched on that a few minutes ago, trying to not have a solid line of units. I've got some proposed amendments to the to this PUD that would add some further anti-monotony characteristics to that and would break up the facades even more.
For the board's consideration, Brad, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but letter J in the architectural standards exhibit, which is Exhibit 9, item J does speak to streetscape diversity with respect to elevations being having different primary facades as well as architectural styles and minor variations in shutters and door styles and siding patterns does not qualify for that. So we expect, it's particularly in the townhomes, there to be a height diversity, 2-story and 3-story, and then throughout the development, a diversity offered along the streetscapes, and we recognize any additional provisions you might want to add.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dark skies also came up, and I'm very much in support of trying to get control over our lighting, the light pollution that we get. And matter of fact, in our item that's further in the agenda tonight, I'm with you there. I'm going to propose some specific changes that would be a permanent change in our ordinances that would allow us to kind of assure that that's happening. The variety of housing, I too find that, the village, we talk about the village, and it's really not homogeneous. In downtown Zionsville, we have apartments, we have duplexes, we have all kinds of types of housing there, and it really works. And we actually have a very dense, everyone loves Zionsville's village. We heard that. I was on the plan commission, I was on the steering committee for the comprehensive plan, and we heard that a lot, like how much we love the village, the downtown as well as the surrounding housing, and that's very dense. And it kind of baffles me a little bit that we have this conversation that density is the enemy. I think bad design is the enemy, not so much the density. Like if we can get the design right, our village is a perfect example of a community that makes sense. It feels great. Everyone that walks and experiences that community loves it. Same thing with, I know Nikki is possibly talking about Stonegate. It's a very nice neighborhood to live in. It's dense. People live very close to one another. It's not for everyone, I get that. And but as the Plan Commission, we're supposed to be looking at what markets want, like what my kids want as a housing, for their housing is going to be much different than what I think is a great house. And I know my parents would say something quite different than what I would even want. So diversity in housing or variation in housing, I think, is a positive thing. And there was also the comment, and Craig, you brought this up too, we have had some bad PUDs, and meaning that we didn't have the control that we thought we did. And not to pat myself on the back, but I think that we're starting to really dig into the language in those documents and get it dialed in a little better. For instance, Holiday Farms has a clause for the frontage along 421 is that they can have it be commercial, they can make it multifamily, they can do it's kind of an open-ended opportunity for them to develop that any way they want to. And they're a good developer and they're doing the right thing there, but we need to make sure that the PUDs aren't so open-ended that we're getting something that we're not foreseeing as the best thing for the town. And I think that there's other examples of that, that have not quite gone the way we thought it would go. And part of that is getting the language in these PUDs dialed in a little better, get them tighter, so that we do have the teeth to, hold the developers accountable for what they're proposing. So one thing that comes up is they show us a concept plan, and those concept plans look really nice, but then, and the precedent images look really nice, but then what we get proposed is quite different. We're shown individual buildings with pitched roofs and they look like residential, and then we get a strip center with flat roof and it just looks very commercial. And we don't have the teeth in those cases to do anything about it because that's the way they were written. So one thing that I'm kind of on a mission to do is to make sure that the PUDs actually read the way that it's being presented to us, and so that what we're saying yes to actually is what we get. Honestly, this PUD, out of all of them that I've read in the last year and several months, this one's the best written that we've seen so far. Whether you like the content, like the development or not, as far as the document itself, it's written better, quite a bit better than our previous PUDs. So I applaud their team for doing that. They've listened to the comments that I've been making on the previous PUDs. I think there's refinements that can be made to this that will get us to a finish line. I think it's a good product, a good project. I don't believe it's leapfrog development. I don't believe it's overly dense. If we're going to put density anywhere, it should be along 421 or a major corridor. And this is exactly that. This also gives the Union Woodlands another exit, and actually will likely be their primary way out of that neighborhood instead of onto 200, which is a big win for the town of Zionsville. I'd rather those folks make their way to 421 through this development versus on 200. If we don't approve this, it all is going on to 200. I think that's a worse scenario than what we have in front of us today. Somebody brought up transportation as well, and we do have really good staff that looks at the volumes of traffic that are going to hit the roads. And again, the improvements lag a bit behind, but I do trust the department that we've got. They've been doing this. Matter of fact, some of our staff there have been with the town for a very long time. They've witnessed everything for the last 20 years. And I do think that they would have put in their staff report that this is deficient if it was deficient. So I'm in support of the development I've got 30 or so items in the PUD language itself that I would want to have changed. But if those amendments were made, I would be in support of this.
Is that something that needs to be done?
I guess, what are those amendments? Can
Continue it, like,
take
is
a look
that
at
something
your
that-
list
Sure.
of amendments? And
So for instance, tree preservation. So anytime a developer says that they are going to preserve trees or use existing trees as credits towards landscaping requirements, I would want the language to specifically say that they're going to protect everything within the drip line of those trees. It's a no disturb zone throughout the entire construction phase. So no equipment gets stored there, no equipment gets driven on it. It doesn't get torn up, grade elevations don't change. All of those things kill trees. So if you're going to preserve them, truly work at preserving them. So that's one piece of language. The way they measure the trees, if you measure 6 inches up from the elevation that the tree's planted at, you're usually measuring the collar, the taper, which if you're planting a 1.5 inch tree, it could be only an inch diameter higher up. To me, it should be measured at, DBH is what's used in the industry. That's what I would use, just to make sure we're getting the tree species, or the sizes that
before we get too far, Brad, these are all going to be amendments that we want to add to the text?
This would be,
Okay.
yes.
So this is something where,
So, and I think this is kind of an oversight, but they have a buffer yard requirement, which every development does. It says that if there's a fence, a wall, or a mound, is that they don't have to have any setback or any buffer yard itself. And to me, a fence doesn't substitute for that distance. So what I was going to suggest is that we get at least 50% of the buffer yard that's spelled out if they're going to use a fence or a wall or something else as a barrier.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot here.
Yeah,
on
I mean,
these. It's just one of these things that you were thinking maybe a continuance to next month and then add these to.
We could, and I'm fine with that. So getting to the anti-monotony, just as one thing that people don't think of is we set setbacks, and we have a development that's in town here that's being built right now, and you could literally shoot a laser down the front facade of every house, and every front house would be within a 1/4 inch of exactly in alignment with each other. And it's because they have a minimum setback of 20 feet, and they're just all exactly 20 feet. So what I like to do is say instead of 20 feet, is that the average is 25 feet or something like that. So, but they can have a minimum of 20, but an average of 25. And they then will be able to vary the front facades and still be in compliance. Yep.
But that's not going to require them to do that, right?
It does require them to do that.
It
That's how we
requires them to
write
stagger them?
Yes.
So you're gonna,
It's within, yes, and hit that average. And so the 20 feet becomes an average, but they have to have a certain number of units that are forward of that and a certain number of units that are behind that. So you do force them to.
And would you also say staggered, that where it can't be 5 units at 20 and then 5 at 25?
We
and
could,
then
yeah.
5 at
Yeah.
22 or something?
and that's kind of what they've done a little bit.
But that, when you drive down the
Right
street
now,
and you
yes.
see that, even though every house is the exact same, meaning that it's the same development, if they were to stagger, it makes a huge difference. It makes a really big difference. The thing is they don't, so if let's say the setback is 30 feet, we allow them to go to 25 feet in some cases. The 30 is still the average, and then they'll have to set some back farther than that. So you give them a little bit by letting them go forward of what the hard line normally would be, and you let them some go farther back.
Are you pushing this for the townhomes only?
Townhomes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's not enough houses, and they're on curved streets where this
You
would.
get the anti-monotony.
Yeah, this would not be as effective in that particular situation. I would like externally illuminated, goes to dark skies as well, is that they have a provision to allow externally illuminated signs. So you have a sign and then you have lights on the ground shining up and lighting that sign. Well, if they're done really well, you don't get dark skies. So meaning that they shield them so that the light truly hits that sign and nothing more. If you just put a floodlight on that, light goes everywhere. But you can control lighting to just hit that sign that you're targeting. So if we're going to have external lighting, I would want to calibrate or say that they have to have it the softest light possible to be visible 300 feet away, and no more. So you're not like just lighting the sign up with a ground sign. Ground signs are gonna, if not done well, you do get that skyward bound light.
Would downward facing lights work in this situation, especially with the situation as close as the airport? I don't think any lights facing.
Absolutely. I mean, whether you believe in the migratory impacts to wildlife or for airports purposes, I mean, I think it's just a more pleasant community. It feels like a rural place more when you have dark skies. And I think that should be a goal of ours, and honestly, I think that's regulations that we can add. I know that a Girl Scout troop actually gave a presentation to the town council 4 or 5 years ago promoting dark skies. Like, the kids want this too. So, and I've written dark skies regulations. I can advise on it some, but there's an organization that actually has model regulations that it's a good it's a good place to start.
Are we, just to ask, are we at the point where there needs to be some more dialogue? Because that'd be a really long motion at this point, and we don't even know if you guys can agree to it. So, like, is that?
What?
You go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Kendrick, thank you. And certainly want to rely on legal counsel to the Plan Commission, Mr. Taylor, for thoughts on this. I would suggest the Plan Commission considers these edits to the text of the PUD similar to how if there were outstanding revisions commented by staff in a staff report, certainly much more weight given from where they're coming from. And a suggestion to Brad is, given the length of tonight's conversation, would the Plan Commission consider a vote conditioned upon the petitioner and Brad aligning on changes within the next 10 days, 2 weeks, if those incremental, what I'll call more detailed adjustments cannot be met in the next 10 to 14 days, we would return to the Plan Commission next month. If we are able to check the boxes that Brad is requesting, then they would be part of the petition reviewed by council, town council, excuse me.
That would not be my preference.
Understood.
Because although Mr. Johnson has made
agree.
his comments and says there are 30 suggestions at least,
Yep.
There's no consensus by the commission. They haven't seen them either.
Right.
And we've been here for, a long time now, and apparently we could either be here a lot longer and keep going, or if we think that we need time for, in fairness to the petitioner, for them to see what these changes would be, and for the Plan Commission to see them also, it seems to me that the commission should consider a motion to continue, if that's the direction you want to go to, or make some dispositive motion for a recommendation. And I would prefer that one of those three motions be made. With all due respect, I just don't like the idea of giving any one member of the commission authority they don't have. And
Agreed.
I don't think it's fair to you either, frankly. I think that both sides, both the full Plan Commission needs to have the opportunity to study and see these things, and also your developer does too. That's
In
my
full
opinion.
transparency, the suggestion was only meant to acknowledge that this Plan Commission has spent about 4+ hours discussing this matter. That's not to take those 4 hours lightly, and want to recognize that every one of your meetings includes significant matters. So the petitioner is willing to move, but I think move to next month, but Steve can offer that.
Yeah, do you
Let me-
mind if I make a comment?
Give me just a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish just the high level, two more comments that I think make improvements to the townhomes. One is that the precedent images, most of them are pretty good. The top right one, I think that one needs to be deleted. It's, there's something about it that just does not in any way feel like Zionsville. So you've got the 9 images. Honestly, the single-family detached housing just does not look like it's, I don't know, it looks pretty generic, honestly. And I don't know if there's a hard set on what those images would be, but I think those could possibly be improved upon. The last thing I want to suggest is that I don't know if anyone here has got a house that was built by a production builder, but the tendency is to build small garages. 20 by 20 is not uncommon. 20 by 22 is not uncommon. There's a lot of vehicles that we drive today that will not fit in those garages, especially if you have the standardized totes for our waste management and the recycling bins. They just don't fit in a garage. And I know it's not in our zoning ordinance, but it can be in a PUD ordinance, is to state a minimum size for a garage that allows people to actually have their cars in the garage and their trash and their bikes and that type of stuff, so they don't have to park cars outside in the weather and whatnot. And one of those amendments here was, I think that it says that the townhouse lots are 20 feet, which is going to guarantee you're going to have a 20-foot garage, is to say that the minimum size is 22 feet. It makes the units bigger, as well as make sure the garages are bigger. And maybe just that bump of 2 feet would be enough, but it's hard to get 2 cars in a garage and open up the doors to those cars at 20 feet. And that's what we would get with townhouses, with 2-car garages.
I'm going to just touch on that. You're talking garages, that's something that I'm in support of increasing garages. But I will say, out of respect for the developer in this case, adding 2 feet to each of those townhomes is going to be considerable amounts of money to go vertical 2 feet. So I would be cautious to require something along those lines of this developer.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go to 25. I mean, realistically, 22 feet should not be a major ask. It may be a minor redesign of their townhouse floor plans, but it just means that bedrooms will be a little larger, living rooms may be a little larger, but I think that's a good thing. I don't know, just my thoughts. Those are my thoughts as far as the high-level stuff. Steve, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say hello and good evening for the record. My name's Steve Pittman with Pittman Partners. I reside at 370 Santer Court. And I want to just start off immediately and just saying we're glad to come back next month. Brad, we'll be glad to meet with you and go over your comments. The things I've heard tonight seem to be, very reasonable. Maybe as we dig into it, I'll find out some of them aren't, but we'll work through that. And just the one other thing I wanted to add is some of the people up here who got up and spoke against this project, and they're very, very kind in their comments towards me. And I just want to say, and I think Craig, you mentioned that about what you get to do and being a council member and a plan commission member is, it's a really awesome thing to get to meet everybody. And even though we don't necessarily always agree on things, I've made some really great lifelong friendships. In my 20s, if somebody got up and spoke against me, I was like, mad, they're objecting to what I'm doing. But like Chris, who just walked out, he's one of the things I really appreciate about the guys on the other side of 421, the way they communicated with me. They were very clear, we don't want this development to happen, we want it to remain a field. And generally everybody feels that way, and I get that, that's what I always start with. But in the event that it's developed, these are the things that we want. And so, we worked really close with them. As Kyle said, I had the wonderful opportunity to be invited down to the gal that, I think she may have started Saverville Zionsville, or on their board at Laurel, was she on the board? Paula. And gourmet cook invited me down, met with her and her husband for 3 hours in Inglewood, Florida, and had a great lunch. And, she made some really good comments that the problem is, like, she would talk to me maybe about entry-level homes or very small homes for seniors, or, she talked about having retail on the front with rental units above. And those were things where we were working very closely with the people on the other side of 421, and we couldn't really accommodate all those things, even though we thought they were great comments. So, we get comments from you guys, we get comments from the people over on 200 and 1200 East and right across the street, and we're trying to work through all those things. I think, Craig, you appreciate your comments as well about how you see us working with people, and that's how we want to be known. And life's way too short to have an attitude of, it's got to be my way or whatever. So, thank you.
All right, we've probably beat this thing to death. Do we want to have a continuance? Or does someone want to make a motion?
Just kind of one last thing. I think that it's, when you look at the rural and urban district as defined by Zionsville, we are literally right there on that line. So that's what makes this project kind of hard as well, is being in a, parts of this connects to places that are still served, urban, but we are kind of, like I said, on that, literally on that edge. And so I think some of the concern, I know that I have too, is like, what is it going to look like? And so that's why I do appreciate taking the time. I know it's exhaustive, and hopefully we have things in the future that prevent very exhaustive, specific type conversations like this that could maybe happen before time to clean things up or that sort of thing. But I know that that's something that is important to me driving down the road. As you do start to get out to a current rural district that could potentially be built out, what does this look like, and is it harsh or not? So I just appreciate the time that's been taken on that. So I will say, I move that docket number 2025-83-Z to rezone approximately 51.56 acres from AG to the Woodland Grove Planned Unit Development, PUD District, be continued to a further date for further conversation, which would be the regular Plan Commission meeting on March 16th.
I have one comment before I'll give you a second on that. Brad, with these changes that are being made, is there any way you can try to get with Steve's team in the next week or two. I know you're busy, but that way we have a little bit of time to digest it, so we may be able to or March is going to be an awful meeting. Try to streamline this a little bit.
Yeah, I need to do it within the next 8 days because I'm out of town after.
We can at least have it 15 days prior to the meeting
Yeah.
and try to work through it. All right. I'll give you a second then.
All right. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. I will mention to the public that the next meeting, we will deliberate this, consider any changes, but it will not be a public hearing for public input. You can come and come and see how things proceed, but it is not a public hearing after tonight. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to docket number 2026-08, OA, the Town of Zionsville. This is our text amendment that's being considered.
Can I give a summary?
Yes, please.
Of this? The Denton's law firm has approached the town council for an amendment to the zoning code as it relates to the Michigan corridor overlay, both the rural and urban Michigan Road Overlay District. The current ordinance, current overlay prohibits car washes altogether. And the law firm has approached the town council to amend the code to allow automatic car washes, but to preclude only self-service car washes from the Michigan Road Overlay. So the council considered that request and adopted a resolution that is now forwarded to the to the Plan Commission to amend a resolution where they are initiating an amendment to the zoning code, effectively striking car washes and replacing the term car washes with self-service car wash, which would allow automatic car washes in the overlay district if the underlying zone also allows automatic car washes. So this item has been advertised for tonight's meeting for your consideration. And so that's where we are on this right now. This is an advertised item. I understand it's being introduced to you today. You don't, of course, have to act on this item today. If you have questions or want more information, the matter can be continued to the March meeting.
Great, thanks, Mike. Our rules say that this is the time for commissioners to ask questions of staff. If you guys have any questions for Mike or staff, this is the time to do that. We can circle back to it later, though, as well.
What was the intent behind not allowing car washes on 421 originally? Does anybody know?
That's a great question, and we've asked ourselves that. There is language in our zoning ordinance that kind of describes the intent of the overlay district. In the memo that was sent to you for this item, there's about 4 bullet points that refer to the really intent of the overlay district. To promote the public health, safety, and welfare and convenience and providing for coordinated treatment of properties along the corridor, to promote quality development, to establish basic standards for development, landscaping, and so on within the overlay, to promote high-quality, innovative site design and efficient land usage, to establish development standards that encourage capital investment along the corridor, to promote steady flow of traffic, to foster development that will provide this district with a special sense of place that will increase property taxes, protect existing residential uses, and attract new businesses. And it goes on to state that the creation of this special sense of place shall be encouraged by means of a coordinated set of design principles for buildings, site planning, landscaping, and signs. So I do think that the corridor was intended to promote quality development and a form of commercial development that's not typical to the other commercial corridors, because there's a reference to a special sense of place. So I interpret that as meaning that the writers of this ordinance intended for the Michigan Road Overlay, both urban and rural, to be somewhat set apart, being special from the other commercial corridors in Zionsville or other communities around Zionsville.
What year was it adopted?
Hmm.
20,
I have to look at that.
Okay, sorry to stump you.
to add to your question a little bit, Kendra, I think at the time when this was written, was that Citgo lot was south of the Citgo lot in the town. We had a dilapidating self-usage car wash there that was not the most attractive thing in the community. Hence the reason why it got classified with amusement parks, confined feeding operations, disposal of radioactive material. Yeah, it just, I think it had some bad image in the town at the time.
This is a sledgehammer response to.
Sledgehammer
a bad
response
owner.
to where me and my friends may have gotten in trouble in high school a little bit, but we'll leave that nameless.
There it is.
I may have been part of the problem.
Those records are available also.
Well, I think too, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I believe that Carmel put in an overlay district on Michigan Road, and then Boone County kind of followed suit to continue it up the corridor. Is that correct? And does our overlay mirror theirs, or is it
I
similar?
don't think so, because there's a crew car wash on Michigan Road.
Well, yeah, I understand, but it's, I don't know how much ours mirrors theirs versus, it doesn't matter that. You were going to say, Kendrick?
Yeah, and what's interesting is going off of, you know, kind of what we talked about tonight, it's to promote like continuous movement along 421. We're seeing that continuous flow, like that steady flow of traffic is stopping now. And that will continue. I do appreciate the intent for 421 corridor to not be a copy and paste. And I think that's, you know, that intent should continue.
All right, the next thing we should do is open it up for the petitioner unless we have other questions for staff.
I would say, though, that this is initiated by the council, so I would interpret the council as being the petitioner. However, the law firm who kind of prompted the council's decision is here to speak if you
Yep,
allow.
I
So-
understand Bob Harris is here as well
Okay.
as the folks that this would be beneficial to. We can
I think
allow
the
a,
ordinance was passed in 2000. On page 413 of your code is
2000?
that year 2000? Okay.
2000.
So that's why we don't have the institutional knowledge as to why things were done. Thank you.
Graduate in 98.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Anyone that has a small
Thank you so
garage
much.
does it.
Yes.
All right, so this is a little different. We don't have text amendment requests very often, first of all. Second of all, they typically would originate from the Plan Commission or staff versus from Town Council. This is being requested to the benefit of a particular business, so with your blessing, we'll go ahead and allow them to give a presentation about their particular development proposal, even though that's not what's being decided tonight. It's an ordinance amendment. So, all right.
Good evening. I'll be very respectful of your time. First, thank you very much to the Town Planning Commission for allowing me to share some information. I certainly appreciate the opportunity. We at Crew Car Wash, we appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to share information on a modern-day car wash and how that modern-day car wash has evolved over the last 25 years since that overlay district was first created, and also how a modern-day car wash can benefit the town of Zionsville. Oh yes, my name's Billy Shamming. I'm on the support team at Crew, been there for 21 years, and I serve as our president. So thank you again. Thank you for changing the slide. This is an illustration of how the appearance and the operation of a car wash has changed over the last 25 years. This is a newer facility that we recently built, and you can just see the architecture and the design, the beauty of the building. It's limestone, masonry, a lot of beautiful landscaping. You go to the next slide. This next one would be an example of how a modern-day car wash can adapt its aesthetics to local zoning ordinances to please the community for the look that they're going for. The next slide would be a few renderings and illustrations. This displays the aesthetics and the character. This would be the north side and the south side of the building. Looks much different than a car wash that was built even 10 years ago, let alone 25 years ago. And then the next slide displays the character, the aesthetics of the entrance and exit of the facility. And we'd like to emphasize that we can be very flexible with the design to fit into the character of the area where we place these car washes. Next, I just want to share a few specifics on Crew. First and foremost, Crew is a family. We're a family-owned business, currently in the third generation of family leadership. We strive and aspire at Crew to be a role model for the service industry. And we aspire to do that in three ways. Number one, the way that we treat our team members. Number two, the way that we treat customers. And number three, the way that we give back to the communities that we serve. I'm going to briefly touch on each one of those. First would be team members. We are, could you click the slide? Thank you. We're a best places to work. Just 2 weeks ago, we were named the #1 place to work in the nation by Glassdoor. 2 years ago, we were ranked #2. NVIDIA was #1. And most of the software companies dropped out of the top 10 this year, and Crew Car Wash was named the #1 best place to work in the entire nation. Lilly was on the list as well. I think they were in the teens. We have jobs that range from entry-level jobs for high school associates, college students, and then we have career positions. We have a lot of career development, extensive training, and we pay a lot of tuition assistance for our team members. Our team member promise is to help team members achieve their full potential. And listening to the stories about farms, we have a female general manager, her name's Creedy, and she grew up on a farm. And she started working at Crew when she was 16 years of age, and now she's the general manager of our Brownsburg location. So we take some young students sometimes and really help them develop their careers. Next is to touch on our customers. Our brand promise at Crew is to deliver clean, fast, friendly. We're a customer-focused organization. We have a shared purpose to create smiles and lifetime customers. You can click to the next slide, please. Thank you. These are just a couple pieces of feedback that we've received from our customers. Kids enjoy coming to Crew, dogs enjoy coming to Crew, and adults and everyone in between. When you talk to our customers, you'll find that we're a lot more than an errand. It's an experience when you come to Crew, and it makes you feel good. It makes you smile. And that's what we strive for. The purpose statement at Crew is to create smiles and lifetime customers. It's really not about washing the car. It's about making people happy. Community. Crew gives back in 2025 over $1 million in contributions back to the communities that we serve. These are just a few of the pictures of some of the fundraisers that we've held. Our biggest fundraiser every year is Big Brothers Big Sisters, but we also do a lot of local charities, humane societies and food banks. So we really like to give back to the communities where we serve, and we understand that being in business since 1948, it's all about relationships. It's all about repeat business. So we're not coming to the community just to extract. I mean, we're there to give. And finally, wanted to share our ongoing commitment to property excellence. If you've driven by our facilities, I think you'll find that they're extremely well maintained. And the reason being is we're in the image business. People are paying us money to improve the image of their vehicle, so we understand it's imperative that we keep our properties beautiful through regular landscape maintenance, but also continual capital improvements in the facilities. We put a lot of money back into these places to make sure that they have a beautiful, clean image and we keep them fresh. In closing, I just wanted to share the benefits that Crew can bring to a community like Zionsville. First, it's convenient for the residents. It is a necessary service. People enjoy washing their car. Second, it's good for their vehicles. It's protection. Third, that revenue, those dollars, it stays in Zionsville. Fourth, we're a solid community partner, supporting local organizations. We're environmentally responsible, clean, well-maintained image for the community, local job creation from part-time to full-time careers, a best place to work, and we believe that we can enhance the special sense of place in Zionsville. So I thank you for allowing me a few minutes to share how a modern car wash could fit into the Zionsville community, and at this point would love to open it up if there's any questions.
Questions? All right.
More comment than a question. I just want to say thanks for your presentation. It's apparent that you guys are asset to any community where you have locations. I would, from my own observations, tell you that you guys do keep a very clean and tidy facilities, at least the ones that I frequent. I'm in the Unlimited Club. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wash often.
So I welcome the opportunity to give you guys a chance to come to town.
I think that means you have to recuse yourself from any further. No. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
All right.
I got one question. This might be more of a, I don't know if it's legal or staff. Couple things with regards to the auto detail side that we've seen in the past, like in the Whitestown, Zionsville area. Is that car wash, is what we're doing tonight going to allow that component as well, if that were to come to us?
I think,
Unfortunately, we don't have a definition for self-service car wash. We do have one for automatic car wash that states it's a building or portion thereof where automobiles, trucks, or other self-powered vehicles are washed by mechanical devices of any type. It doesn't really speak to the vacuum cleaning or detailing section.
Yeah, and it sounds like the detailing part is automatic.
Yeah.
With the exception, they have people doing a part of it, but it has a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
So I guess that would hypothetically fall under.
I'm not sure if that would really be the intent.
I definitely want to have this conversation. Before we do that, though, I was just going to see, is there any legal, did you have any specific comments you wanted to make? I was going to give you an opportunity to make a brief comment about this if you want to. Kyle, I know you were part of getting this petition before us.
You mean I can't hide behind the letter I submitted here, Brad?
You cannot. But again, very brief, if you have anything to add, and if not, we're going to start our deliberations.
Yeah, ultimately, and I don't see any other members of the public, but I think that you open the public hearing, so to the extent that there's anyone else, I think I would suggest that there be a call out for anyone else to come up to the podium. I'll offer comments that along with Councilor Norris's petition or request to the town council, which then ultimately sent this back to you, there was an inclusion of text that would be a draft amendment to the overlay that, for all intent and purposes, read that self-service car washes would be excluded. So ultimately, I do suggest, but look to Mr. Taylor, Mr. Dale, and others to allow you to change that language to the extent you want to further clarify that only the excluded uses are self-service, but that doesn't, exclude other uses. So I would just welcome the Plan Commission to consider how to improve upon the amendment if they see fit. Thank you.
Thank you. And then per state statutes, we need to open up a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in favor of a text amendment that would allow car washes in the overlay district? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Now we can have deliberation.
And just to clarify, the amendment would be to allow automatic car washes, but to exclude self-service car washes. Yeah. Okay.
And there are two ways to do this. What the town council has sent to you is a specific proposal merely to change the use table and have automatic car washes be permitted in certain districts instead of in this district instead of excluded, but to continue to exclude, the other type. And so with that, that's what the town council has asked you to review. Now, that suggestion or that proposal may open up to planning people or people with planning minds 84 other questions. And so it may be that if this, if you make a favorable recommendation or if you make any recommendation on this, it may mean that the staff needs to then develop some definitions and some rules. And so, like I said, there are two ways to go about it. You could say, we want to see all of it in front of us before we really move in this direction, or you could say, we're comfortable moving this direction and changing use table, and we'll look to staff to come back and tell us what development standards we might need if we're going to allow them on Michigan Road overlay. I'll just offer that to you.
All right. Time for
I would comment that the plain meaning of the English language, wash, is that inclusive of a vacuum or exclusive of vacuuming? And I would seek clarity on that point. I think that's knowing the other crew locations and what might be proposed here. I know nothing's before us right now. But I know there are locations that include vacuuming bays. There's no hoses with water coming out of those bays. So I think we need to, I think we need to make some definitions and what is inclusive of wash, and does that include vacuuming?
Great.
Okay, good point.
I see three types, or I guess I think we have three different types of gas stations. We have a self-serve where you go put the quarters in, wash it yourself. You have a self-serve automatic car wash as well, where it's literally just swipe a card, it runs it through, and then there would be a staffed automatic. I guess I would want to know what, if we could do, and I may be missing one, but.
Right.
Is that I just don't want us to be back here in a year saying,
Right.
crew car washes, I'd put card swipers in and they've got a robot that's gonna wash it. And
Right.
before, those are the three concerns I would have. Or a concern I would have.
I think it's fair to agree with a change, but request staff to make the the building standard determination based off of everybody's, input and comments.
To Dan's point, we've been given a kind of a framework of how this might look, but I think there's more depth to it that we probably have to flesh out and have staff draft us a proposal that handles the things like that Nick and Josh are mentioning, and certainly concerns that Craig may have. And so one thing that jumps out at me on this one in particular is I'm not opposed to the amendment, but somebody said, oh, we already have a crew car wash on Michigan Road. It's fine. We should just move forward with it. But in this particular case, we have residential in much closer proximity, immediately across the street for one, and then to the east, we have residential fairly close, whereas the one on, 106th Street and Michigan Road is very isolated. So we may want to, I'm just not saying we have to, but I'm saying we may want to address the dark skies kind of point, because we have residential right next to it. I think that the other properties in that development have committed to that dimming the lights 50% at 10 o'clock and only having motion sensors that will kick them back up to a higher level. So maybe that's something, I think this is an opportunity where we could literally write that into our code as part of this amendment. And then we don't have to have staff kind of request that of folks. I mean, it actually just solidifies it as something we do. Steve Pittman's development would be, you know, if we make the text amendment that says that, then he would absolutely have to do that as well. And then, I don't know if there's an issue with noise or not. I don't know what the decibels that come out of a car wash, an automated car wash. But again, because we have residential in closer proximity, it's just something I throw out there as we may want to address.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if it's, you know, if it's at Appaloosa and it's facing a, you know, a tree farm right now, and there's other commercial around it, that does a great job blocking it, but if you throw it in front of, you know, the development that was just proposed, and they change it from, you know, yes, there can't be restaurants, but we can put a crew right there, and they're exiting at the back of, you know, multiple townhomes at, you know,
right,
when they, you know, they encourage you to go early at 7 a.m. That's an interesting wake-up call, so that's a good point with it not being just a specific development request.
One other point that's different is our comprehensive plans, both of them, I believe, show residential across the street. I mean, that's the future land use plan, the one that's in place today, as well as the future.
We should probably not, we should probably talk about this more generically. Instead of a proposal, a text amendment. I might just caution.
Sure.
Individual locate, yes.
We're looking at the ordinance itself.
Yes, and we would have to get to a development plan and get to a point if we do change the ordinance, but what would be the mitigating circumstances that would, that we are concerned about that the amendment should include? Nikki, sorry, I'm looking that way a lot.
No, you're fine.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, other than the ones that were already raised, I don't know that I have anything additional, other than, you know, buffering in the sense that we would need it, but I don't know generically how we necessarily state that.
That's what staff gets to do.
I guess my thoughts are, let's make some verbal recommendations to staff and give them direction, and then have them draft it so we can actually look at an amendment at our next meeting. Maybe we continue it to that point with that in mind, that they'll come back with a proposal with definitions, and maybe think through all of the details that were.
I agree. I think I came in tonight thinking, no, this isn't going to be too much, but as we've discussed it, and I've thought through the process a little bit, I think you're right. You know, the definitions, it's something we probably need to firm up a little bit, so.
And Craig, you were mentioning that the second phase that was introduced in the Whitestown area, I don't know if we need to, if you want to maybe give some guidance on what we should do here.
I don't think, you know, I don't think that causes too much impact. However, yeah, the kind of the auto detailing side of it, is that a car wash? I think that was the thing. And to our legal counsel, I just want to say I apologize that we are going more detailed, but we also got more of a detailed proposal to us, more than just an ordinance. So I think that's kind of where we're.
I understand why you were where you were. I just
Okay,
wanted to
just
get us
making
out
sure.
of there.
Well,
Okay, I understand. but-
Okay, so with that being said, you know, I think the lighting, I think the vacuuming, I think those are the things that we need to discuss. And honestly, since we do have this in front of us, I do want to make a comment, because it is here. You know, you've got two pictures here. The second one talks about Appaloosa's aesthetics, and I like the lighting version of that a lot better than the first picture that's in colors.
We can be very flexible.
Yep. I'm just casting that out
We'll
as
get there.
something we're going to be talking about in the future, since we're not being specific and we're talking about just the ordinance right now. So those are two things that I would like to call out, just more defined on the vacuuming and the detail side, the lighting side. And then I think, Josh, you said
Like I said, there's a-
outdoor vacuuming versus.
Yeah, well, that and like the definitions of a self-serve automatic and staffed automatic. I think our job tonight is just to interpret what council has sent down to us, and that is amending the excluded uses from car washes to
excluding self-service car washes. That's it. I think if we wanted to address the lighting, and I'd love to have that be part of what we're considering tonight, it's just not there yet. I think it has to come from council. So I don't know what the proper procedure for us to request that of council to send us back something that says something about the lighting also. But right now, all we have is, you know, do we want to allow car washes? Not, you know, and prohibit self-service car washes. So, you know, if that's what we accept and that's what get written into the ordinance, then it's up to petitioner, I guess, to bring something to us and we can interpret whether that includes vacuuming or not under the plain meaning of the ordinance. But I don't think it's our purview to try to write legislation from the Plan Commission.
So, and Dan, I'm going to ask you to correct me here, but the statutes say that the Plan Commission has to initiate ordinance amendments, but the council can recommend amendments to it, but technically it falls, we've been given an assignment, and it does fall on us to draft the regulations that falls in the Plan Commission's camp. Is that?
I might use words differently, but
Okay.
the town council they're the initiator here.
In this case.
Yeah, they're the initiator, and they have sent it to you, and so it's your job to make a recommendation on their proposal. And you could say it's unfavorable because it's just not enough. You could recommend that they also reject their own proposal and send it back to you for, you know, with further work. But the truth is, it's going to go back to the town council, and they're going to decide, based upon your comments and their original thought, what they want. So text amendments come from three places. They can be initiated by staff, by you, and by the town council. So the word initiator there, that's how I would use that. But our job is to review and to give them a recommendation, and those are your marching orders on the proposal sent to you. So it's a little different than something that comes from staff. Sometimes you can say to staff, look, we don't like that, go back to the drawing table, but this is a little different. I think your job, this is what I think your job is to say, give them a favorable or unfavorable recommendation on their proposal. And if you don't like it because it doesn't have, and you've all made very good points about what's missing maybe, tell them that. Tell the town council that it's unfavorable because we wish that there were development standards and we could provide protections, and send it back to them. Or say, no, we like this, and we're going to have, but we are going to have staff work on some development standards if you approve this change to the use table. That's what I think is more appropriate, merely based on from where this comes, which is the legislative body. They just ask you for recommendations. That's what they do.
I will, maybe it's ignorance, I don't know, maybe it's just I'm not very smart, but this feels like this is just a different way of somebody bringing about developing a crew car wash somewhere where there's not one allowed. I mean, is this normal? Like, could crew have come to us and requested variance, could requested to me, this is a little bit of a workaround, and not to say anything negative about anybody, about the developer, about the overlay, about crew, about anything, but this just feels like a really weird way to go about asking if we can build a crew car wash at Appaloosa. I'm just being frank because that's what was presented to us tonight. I understand the origination, and so that's, I guess, one question. The other question would be, do we currently have building standards for car washes, meaning if all they're asking us to do is literally just replace car washes with self-use car. That's it. They haven't come to us saying anything other than that. So that's.
For this one district, yeah.
For this one district,
Yeah.
for this one.
Or the urban and rural overlay districts.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we got two.
Yeah.
So is there?
Michigan Road, overlay, rural and urban.
Correct.
On face, I support that. Personally, would be my vote. However, I think there's pieces missing. I feel like if I had to vote tonight, I would say unfavorable, only because there's things like definitions that are missing that really are an essential piece of staff implementing this.
Do we have a building standard for car washes anywhere?
We have, for example, lighting standards. The MRO does refer us to the lighting standards within the zoning ordinance. It has foot candle standards and no light trespassing standards and so on. Okay.
But the definition section.
Yeah, definition
is
section.
lacking.
Yeah, it is lacking.
So I would rather take 30 days and make an amendment to their proposal and send it back to them with a favorable recommendation that has these little corrections. And again, it's to benefit the ultimate end user, because to Nick's point, the staff may say, hey, there's still self-serve on that property. There's vacuums that are self-serve. That does not meet this definition. And I don't want to have them get hung up because of an interpretation. So we can clean that up by making an amendment over the next 30 days and send it back to them with and I don't expect the town council to think through like our staff does or myself as a planner. They've made a valid point that we should consider. It's just.
So again, this here that we're being asked to do for this text amendment strictly talks about the car wash. So the development standards outside of that is another ballywick. That's a whole nother thing that we could revisit with staff's support. Mike, we could kind of dig into that with Mike Dale and then come up with the lighting standard and those things that, and we can't, I guess what my thing is with this particular thing here is we're being asked to do one thing that the council's sitting down to this board. I understand that we're looking at things because we've got an experience around Zionsville and Carmel with regards to what we've experienced with this particular company. And I think that's where we got confused because there was a presentation. But I think this just talks about, does this group think that a car wash, not a self-serve car wash, is okay to be utilized in the Michigan Road overlay? And I think
A car wash of any brand or
Yes,
ownership.
exactly.
I'm just going to keep saying that.
And
yeah.
I think that we should, I think that we should lean into that as the request from the town council. And I'd like to see us take a vote on it.
As a further point of clarification, though, along the corridor, there are various zoning districts. It's the various underlying zoning districts, some of which allow car washes, others that don't. Okay, so for one particular location, it might be zoned general business that would normally allow a car wash, but the overlay district prohibits car wash. There may be other districts that don't allow car washes, so this is kind of a moot point. But it really does apply to those areas along the corridor that have underlying zoning that would normally allow a car wash, but the overlay district prohibits them.
So how many parcels does this overlay district affect right now that if we say, hey, we're good to go, is this gonna be like, okay, there's one spot at Appaloosa, or are we opening the entire 421 corridor? Is there gonna be a Crew and then a Take 5 and then, a Harry and Larry's, like what is the?
It's only the general business district, I believe, that allows that. Is that the only one?
Automatic car wash is allowed in GB, in I-1, I-2, AB, which I'm not quite sure what that is.
So there's not very many properties that are currently zoned to that, but it doesn't mean that, say, the property right across the street doesn't at some point get general business zoning, and now they qualify for it as well. So it's probably very few today, but it could be more if we permit rezonings.
If I might, without digging into each zoning district, this would include the rural and the urban Michigan Road overlay. Those were only rural zoning districts, so there may in fact be a lot more properties that would allow a car wash in the underlying zoning. So we didn't look that deeply.
That's what makes the wholesale change hard for me to, agree with, I guess.
Yeah, again, I'm supportive of it. I just feel like we need to define it so
Yes.
that they don't get, I think they've asked for something and they're not going to fully get what they're asking for if we just adopt it as it's been presented to us.
They being the town council.
Yes. They being the town council.
Thankfully, we have a councilman on the plan commission now, and he, I think, is here for reasons to improve communication between our respective governing bodies. I'm sure the message will be heard loud and clear up at council that maybe we want to take a look at the lighting and the overlay as well. And perhaps we'll get another text amendment from council on that point.
Dan, you brought up a point that a text amendment can be brought on by staff, this body, and town council. We don't have to go back to town council. We can simply decide to redo this ourselves because town council's asked us for this. We agree with or we may agree with town
Right, you
council,
always-
but we can say, hey, these are the standards we're going to also send back to them.
You have always had that right. Generally, when you guys see something that needs to be fixed, you can just turn to the staff and say, we would like you to draft an ordinance to address this particular issue. In my, well, every time I look at Kyle, I think, long experience, an old guy like me. In my long experience, I would say 95% of text amendments are driven by plan commissioner staff. It's rare. The town council would send one. When they do, it tends to get your attention a little bit because you think they saw something that you maybe didn't see. But, that's generally how it works. Yeah, Josh, is that you guys who live in the trenches a little bit with this stuff, and staff who live in the trenches, try to address issues as you say you can, and then you try to hope that the council as the legislative body would support it. But, yeah, you guys can, at any time, you guys can, you don't have to wait on anyone.
Dan, would that be a separate, item on the agenda and not piggybacked off of what council's asking us to consider tonight with respect to this text amendment?
Yeah, you could keep working on the issue. You could take action on this and then immediately direct staff to start working on development standards. Some additional applicable standards of, because specifically what you're being asked to do is say, well, what would you want to see done with car washes in the overlay? That's what this is about. Now, that may grow into other changes you want to make in other districts. Right now, the council's asking you to kind of look at this one area of town and say, what's appropriate there? What would be good there? But you're free to do you're free to address it however you want.
Brad, I agree with you that what town council is asking us it's simple. But as we delve into it, we're finding more and more things. I don't think town council is going to come back to us afterwards and say, well, let's delve into it deeper. But we can be proactive ourselves, ask staff to take, here's our concerns. We may agree with town council, but we want to take it to this next step, which I would encourage, actually, so we can get this clarified. Because town council is a legislative body, and no offense to any of them, I've watched a lot of the town council meetings, but they're not on the planning commission. They're not, and they haven't been doing this that long,
Yeah.
The statute gives the plan commission 60 days.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do have time.
You have a timeline.
Yeah.
So the certification was what day?
The resolution that was issued?
Yeah.
Yeah, February 2nd.
You got 60 days from then.
Third.
Yeah, February 3rd.
It's
But
honest.
you would have to resolve it at your March meeting or have a special.
Right.
So we could make a proposed change to it and then give a favorable recommendation with those modifications, which is really just adding definitions to make sure that the intent from town council is truly what we adopt is my goal.
Does the existing PUD, for example, in this particular scenario, already have the things that?
Well, we can't. Appaloosa Crossing wasn't a PUD.
Oh, that's right, it's the one that's not.
And we can't talk about it, right? Because we're talking about a text.
And I'd also remind you that unlike past practice, the law about text amendments was changed. So once you send your recommendation to the town council, you'll never see it again. In the old days, well, not, 2 years ago, it would have come back to you had they disagreed with you. But those days are over. So you get one shot at this, whatever message, reasons you want to send off to the council, you get one shot at that as well. So have your information together.
I feel like there's a little bit of trust there too. I mean, I feel like the council trusts, this body and staff to work together. Say, our intent is to allow car washes on 421. Y'all tell us how you want it done type thing. That's kind of a little bit of, I think, the feel of this as well. And so, I do appreciate that trust there, that hopefully they have with us and with staff to be able to work together to get, something figured out, so. Do you make a motion to, how do you want, does it have to be worded a certain way?
I think the motion would suggest the modifications that we're requesting of staff to make. For instance, adding definitions to clarify self-serve versus unmanned self-serve, or what was it?
Automatic.
Automated. Yeah, thank you.
Self-serve versus automatic.
Yeah. There was 3 types that you.
Well, you could just have a motion to continue and ask staff to address the issues raised in the meeting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I make a motion to continue, to allow staff and the commission to work together to define terms within this request, to be heard at the March 16th meeting.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, moving on. Yep.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we are moving on to other matters to be considered. 2025-80-DP draft findings for denial, Callaway Group, Church Meeting House. Dan, do you want to?
Yeah, the law just, there was a case that came out a couple years ago. It says that when you have denial, you must adopt the findings of fact at your next meeting. So this is exactly what we're doing, merely not reopening the case, just asking you to adopt these findings of fact and make them official. Your decision was made last meeting. That's the sole purpose of this.
So moved.
Yeah, Dan has provided that document that is the findings of fact. So we just need a motion.
Yes.
Make a motion to, sorry, go ahead.
Kendrick has made a motion.
He had it, and then I'll second.
And seconded by Craig. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
I will circulate the findings down the dais. Remember that there were 2 members that voted in opposition to this, so if you voted in opposition, do not sign this.
Gotcha. All right, next item is ACT-2026-01, a memo for minor DPA with materials, alt construction, intelligent living. Is that Roger or?
Yes, me.
Okay, great.
Thank you. As is provided for within the zoning ordinance, minor development plan amendments, as long as they fit into a very specific definition and box, are allowed to be approved by the director without having to come back to you, but we are required to report those to you. In this case, the development plan 2025-08-8, I'm sorry, 2025-54-DP was a development plan for the Intelligent Living project located at 5550 West 106th Street. It was approved back on August 18th by this body. They have come back, and if my screen could be promoted, please, I would appreciate it. I'll be able to show you this through the elevations. This is the south elevation, which faces 106th Street. On the rear side of the building, which here on the west elevation, we've got the end shot. On the rear of the building, they had kind of a 2-story deck area. What they have wanted to do is add an exterior stairwell that you can see here to that deck. They are not changing the depth of the deck area, not changing any of the building envelope dimensions at all. They are simply adding this exterior stairwell. Again, that's the facade that will be facing 106th Street. Coming around, this would be the area where the stairwell would be added to the inside. And again, this item did qualify as a minor development plan amendment. So we are, as the ordinance requires, we're notifying you that this has been approved.
Great, thank you, Roger. And good work, looks great. Okay, we need to schedule a training session. We were going to do it at this meeting or this day, but because we had members absent, we chose to push it to our next meeting, which would be March. I'm hearing that we're missing Kendrick at our next meeting, so I'm wondering if we can check schedules and see if we can find a date that works, or we can ask staff to kind of survey everyone, see if we can come up with that offline. But we do need to get that scheduled, especially there's quite a few things that are changing in statutes, and we have new members that we should try to get up to speed and have an opportunity for them to ask questions of Dan as well. So the sooner the better.
I know the 16th meeting is going to be pretty long.
The 16th meeting, especially, we've moved some more things to it.
Is the weekend out of the question?
It's not for me.
I can make it work. I mean,
Well, the weekend is, everyone would consider a weekend?
Saturday morning, something like that.
Okay, all right. So we'll reach out to you.
I like donuts on Saturday morning, Joey.
Duly noted.
Dan's got a budget for that, I'm sure.
I can bring donuts. I can do any Saturday in March. I will, but then my world changes a little when we get into April, so I think we'd be looking at, for me, to be there on Saturday, we would need to change, I coach, and I will be tied up after that. So if we could find one day any day in March, on Saturday, that'd be great for me. If we need to find a different time, we'll try to do that too, but.
Okay.
So Saturday in March?
I would suggest earlier than later because spring breaks and some people might have kids at different schools.
Like 7th, March 7th.
Saturday, March 7th?
The Saturday dates are 7th, 14th, or 21st in March. Or 28th.
I can do the 7th.
I'll have to check and see if Jim will be back from Africa.
Did you want to try to do this in conjunction with the BZA as well? Or
I think primarily, we want to get all of the Plan Commission members there. If we can get BZA members there, it's a bonus.
you had 2 of them there already,
yeah.
so.
I mean, would love to have that happen, but I think we need to get our Plan Commission.
We'll prioritize a Plan Commission training session, and we'll reach out to the BZA, see if they can attend for a BZA training session.
And just for planning purposes, I mean, I think we should be able to get that in 1 hour, even with questions. It's not like an all-day thing, so keep that in mind as well.
Plan Commission and BZA training?
1 hour no more than 1 hour for each of them,
Okay.
I should say. And I enjoy it, but we can get it done in an hour.
If we're done with that, I just have one other item. So for those that were here prior to this year, I feel like the public hearings, we cut off public input, maybe a little too harshly in some cases. And so, but then I'm reflecting on today and thinking I let them go too much. So I guess I'm looking for advice. Technically, in the rules, we are to limit support for a project or remonstration against a project to 20 minutes max. And overall, like everyone's, we don't know how many people are going to be speaking, for one, so we should with the sign-up sheet. And I don't know that we want to, like a night like tonight, hold it to 20 minutes. That seems pretty harsh. So I guess I'm looking for guidance, so when I run the next public hearing where we have a lot of people, we do it more effectively in meeting your expectations.
We have rules and procedures for a reason, and I think that if we stick with the 20 minutes, it's written in our procedures. And I think that we should probably stick to that. That's my opinion, but I understand you wanted to get more people involved. I understand that.
So one example that I'll throw out, and the reason why, so in the past, we've said only new information can be presented. But that doesn't tell us if 6 people support that first person's idea, or all of them support it, or just that one person supported that idea. So we don't get a good sense of kind of how many people were agreeing to that. But on the other hand, gosh, we just can't have people rambling on. And I should have shut down conversations about other developments for sure. So I apologize for that. But I'm just looking for some guidance and thoughts on how
I
we
think
can
it's
improve the meeting.
fair, the sign-up sheet allows us to understand the number of people. So if we, you know, we do have rules and procedures, like Craig said, we've got 20 minutes, you know, we have 30 people signed up. We're gonna have to turn that rather quick.
Yeah.
Or like we do in some instances when we go long because of that reason, we can, you know, choose to suspend those rules. But, I mean, I think that signing up is very beneficial, at least so that we can understand, you know, hey, we've, you know, got 3 pages of signups versus.
Right.
Just to clarify, it's a 20-minute time limit for folks against a petition, and it's 20 minutes for folks for a petition. So.
So
just-
I think that we should have staff or somebody at the doors as people coming in saying, you cannot speak tonight. And Dan's even given us that advice, like we shouldn't be letting people speak unless they actually have signed up.
So I'll say this about that side of it. There are times I've been a remonstrator on several projects in Whitestown, and they stick pretty hard to the 3-minute rule. You have to sign up beforehand. No one can speak if you haven't signed up. But once I get into a meeting, there's information brought out that I do have a concern on. So I don't want to see us have these things where there are people who are going to come in and sign up every time because they don't want to miss their opportunity to speak. And then you get them up here, no, I'm fine. I guess that's that's the other side of that token. As far as the 20-minute limits are concerned, I'm going, there again, Dave, France, how you were always the old guy around here, I could always go to and say I wasn't the old guy. But I do remember years ago, we tried sticking to a 20-minute regimen, and the optics were not good.
I feel like it makes us look bad.
Makes us look exceptionally bad, and made it look like everyone was trying to hide something. And I don't want that. That's not the spirit of what we're trying to do here.
I'll be honest, I wish it was switched. With us and the town council, I wish that we had the 3 minutes, get to your point, we're in the planning stages, let them hear your issues, you're not gonna repeat what somebody else said, you're gonna give, but
We
they
do
should
have
have
those.
they should have to sit in front of the town, the town council should have to sit in front of the people that have voted them in.
Yeah, Greg.
And have, you know, so if there's a way we could switch
Wait.
it, that'd be great, but.
Well, keep in mind, though, when you're not just running a meeting like the town council is, you are required to have a public hearing, and you are required to let people speak. Town council is under no such obligation legally. They can allow public comment, they don't have to. Okay, you have a different function, and you have to let people be heard or write in. And so before we get too excited about it, I would encourage you to think about this, I think that planning commissions are a lot smarter if they say every person who wants to speak has 5 minutes, no more. The petitioner, you know, you have a rule now that says they have so much time. We ought to make them stick to that too, because one of the things you will hear, I've heard it many times, Jody and I heard this a lot one particular night. Well, you know, the petitioner talked for 45 minutes. Why do I get 5 minutes? Your rules say 20 minutes, and he spoke for 45 minutes. I'm not talking about tonight. It was a long time ago, and Jody and I were there together. So whatever you do, you have to be consistent. But remember, it's not the same as the town council. What you are doing is different. It's a statutorily required public hearing, and the courts have said over and over and again, no. These members of the public, they have a right to speak and to say what's on their mind, and I wouldn't tell them anything. I hear all this all the time. You know, please don't repeat. That's okay to say please don't repeat, but we are not allowed to say what they can say. It's okay. The public access counselor said about 35 times, 3 minutes isn't enough. I'd say 5 minutes, and if there are 600 speakers, well, then settle in. Because if they want to speak, they have a right to speak.
I tend to agree with that.
What we do is different. What plan commissions do is different. And so I think you're stuck with some of that, but I still think if you want to streamline your meetings, the things you should think about is have a time limit, enforce it. Don't let people speak more than once. They don't have that right. You know, when the petitioner's done, they're done, okay? And there are ways you can streamline your meeting, but you have to fulfill that obligation to allow that.
Should
I'm sorry.
While we're discussing this, should we actually, I've noticed town council's done this, they actually open the public hearing, name the time of the actual minute, and then we've closed this public meeting at this time. Should we start incorporating that into our process as well?
I think it's good, and the reason I think it's good is because otherwise you have no record of how long it was, and I write it down. And I can tell you how long it was tonight, and it was, you began your public comment at 7, and you ended that public comment at?
7:47. I had 7:47.
Guys are checking each other.
I have 8:50.
I'm speaking of just the public hearing. That was
Yeah.
our timing.
Oh, okay, for the public hearing only, not their discussion? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, 8:27. That's a long time. Now, you had a fair number of speakers, but really, well, I can tell you, you had about 20 different comments, manageable. If everybody sticks to 5 minutes, that's just what you're gonna get. You had a lot of, but again, the petitioner, I love Kyle, he's great, but they went long. They went a lot longer than your rule, and then the public went longer. And here we are.
If I could maybe make 2 things for you to consider, especially when the concept of needing to sign in to speak at a plan commission meeting is relatively new to the public. So I would offer 2 things for you to consider. We could simply add a simple statement on the agenda notifying people, if you intend to speak, you'll need to sign up before the meeting starts, so that they're informed that way. But then also, not everyone's going to see that. We could ask President in an opening comment at the meeting for everyone's information, if you intend to speak tonight, make sure you've signed in over on the list.
Yep, I'd be glad to do that.
I think it's great. And the other thing is, we should understand that sign-in actually, for you, not for any other body, is really important because someone's ability to appeal your decisions rests on their having spoken or having submitted something in writing to you. Otherwise, they lose the right to appeal. So the reason, 100 years ago, we started requiring people to sign in was so we could keep track of who spoke, because sometimes they forget or we don't understand who they are. So the sign-in was really kind of voluntary until the 2011, when the rule changed and said, well, you know, your right to appeal is based upon whether you spoke at a meeting or whether you submitted something in writing. And then when you had an appeal and you had to submit that, we have to give that list goes to the court. Believe it or not, the staff has to certify, this is our list, this is who spoke at this meeting. And so that list is what that's about. It's really not just convenience, but.
Dan, if we make a decision tonight to change, so is that a change of our rules and procedures?
Exactly, which you can do at any time.
Okay. I have one too that, after reading this, it's probably a typo, but it's the.
Quite possible.
Yeah, okay, so, but I didn't know how set in stone it is. It's on page 4, Article 3, Plan Commission members, officers and staff, the removal of one of the commissioners. Letter A, a member who is moved may appeal the removal to the Boone County Superior Court within 30 of receiving the notice. Should say days.
Should say days, yeah. It's a restatement of the law.
Okay,
So we know that's a missing word.
okay, you know it's gone. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it could be fixed. Yeah.
Well, just to circle back, I do want to get better at running the meetings, so if you have any.
You're doing a great job, by the way.
Recommendations or thoughts, I don't want to prolong meetings unnecessarily, so if there's some advice there, I'd be glad to take it and work on it.
I don't want you to beat my record of South Village meeting going for 12:30, so let's get this fixed. And that's a perfect example of the extremes that
Did you get a plaque for that?
I should have. I mean, is there a Guinness record I beat there?
You should get a plaque.
A 5-hour public meeting or public input? But that's a perfect example of how it can go the opposite direction on us.
Should get two, you know, paychecks for that.
Yeah,
Goes into a
double
different
overtime.
day,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Overtime.
Yeah, Craig, could you work on that? We get an overtime after 10:30, an extra $1.
Are you looking for a motion to adjourn?
I do
Yes,
really-
motion to, if I have a motion to adjourn.
Okay, somebody second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you.